What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? It's your boy Adam Perez back once again with a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report. Listen, it's been a minute, but we are in fact back going live for you guys right now. We got ourselves 6 topics for you guys to go ahead and get into today. A couple of honorable mentions. We're going to be getting into some Iman Vellani, the star of the Marvels, talking a little bit about some advice for possibly helping Marvel Studios out. We even have an update when it comes to the Alien franchise for the television series as well as the upcoming movie. We also got a huge Fallout first look for you guys and much more. So certainly join us for a new episode of Hero Report starting now. Hey, it's been a minute, y'all. What's going on? Welcome to another episode of A-Plus Hero Report. Hopefully your Sunday afternoon is going spectacularly well wherever you're watching us from. We got my boy Stuart joining us today. What's going on, man? I feel like I have not seen your face in a minute. If I can give you a hug through the screen, man, I certainly would. It's so good to see you, buddy.
Definitely. It is good to see you. It is good to be back. It feels like it has been forever since we have done this.
It has been, man. It's been a minute. I have been trying to figure out what to do with myself over the past like 2 months, trying to figure out like how can I utilize my phone to maybe make some content around here, sort of thing. So we have been a little bit off the radar. Quick shout out to our WrestleManiacs crew of Datila, Josh, and Indy from time to time, keeping us updated here on our channel with some wrestling content. You could definitely continue to expect them to certainly be around here. But hopefully, Stuart, we can balance that wrestling talk out with some actual nerd comic book movie television talk, like we're most notably known for, man. So it's good to be back, man, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. And luckily we seem to have come back at the right time because yeah, plenty of news today, lots of stuff recently kind of going on. That's the one thing, because of the like actors and writer strike, there just hasn't been like that much news in general. So it's good that we're coming back now as the actor strike is kind of wrapped up. So now there's plenty of things to talk about in the media industry as of now.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, man. I don't want to say the strike did us any good, but honestly, the idea that we didn't necessarily have too much content to really talk about, now that the floodgates have certainly opened, I just feel like they're just hitting us with announcements after announcements since the actor strike wind up dropping. So we'll definitely continue to keep you guys posted and updated on a weekly basis here. So continue to join us every Sunday for another episode of Hero Report. We are getting close towards the end of the year, Stuart. I was thinking, last year we did our 2023 most anticipated movies, most anticipated movies of 2023 that we wanted to see. I think we should do another video, most anticipated movies for 2024. What do you say, man?
I am definitely down.
I'm thinking maybe we pick our top. How did we do it last time? We picked our top 5, and I think we had 2 honorable mentions. So we might do something like that. If we've got some free time, either this week or next week, we should probably try and record that. But I would be down for another most anticipated for 2024 video.
Yeah, definitely.
For those of you who are joining us in our live chat, first off, I think we got like 7 viewers, all from YouTube. Thank you guys so much for certainly joining us. I know it's been a minute. Some people probably thought, is this channel even still going, type of thing, but we are in fact still here. If you are in the live chat watching us live, do us a big favor, man. Hit that like button. It's free, doesn't take you very much time whatsoever, but it definitely continues to show your support. And of course, if you want to join us for some of our discussions, feel free to let your comments be known and thoughts be known in the comments section or the live chat. We'll definitely go ahead and continue to talk with you guys throughout the episode. Enrique Perez is in the house. What's up, Enrique? Good to see you around here again. He says, I just saw all the episodes of Power Ranger Cosmic Fury. It was amazing. Just saw new movie trailers for upcoming movies in the future, including Inside Out 2, Madam Web, the Garfield movie. I didn't even know we were having one of those. Orion in the Dark, which is a Netflix animated film from DreamWorks. Interesting. What else did he see? Avatar: The Last Airbender Netflix series, Thunderman's Return on Nickelodeon and things like that. So yeah, man, I'm glad the strike is over, that they can promote a lot of this stuff. Blossom in the house. What's up, Blossom? Good to see you. My boy Ram Jam certainly coming through. We got Datila certainly coming through as well. Thank you so much. Marcelino is certainly back. And obviously, we got to give a shout out to Blossom once again for the amazing super chat here with the $2. Yeah, guys, listen, if you want to support the channel monetarily, if you certainly can, feel free to submit over a super chat, a super sticker sort of thing. All of that certainly goes to providing us with better production value around here, better equipment, allows us to get other things designed for the channel, possibly go to conventions to bring you guys coverage and things like that as well. So I want to pay these guys around here for all their extremely hard work. So if there's other content that you guys certainly would like to see, all of that certainly does go a long way. But Blossom says totally and absolutely missed you guys. So we really do appreciate the sentiment, Blossom, and we missed you too. Trust me, I know we connect every once in a while outside of YouTube, but it's always great connecting with you guys here as well. Stuart, what have you been up to the past like month, 2 months since we haven't been on air? Have you seen any good movies? What's life treating you like over there, buddy?
Oh man, life's been good. I definitely can't complain. Saw Godzilla minus one, probably one of the most amazing Godzilla movies I think I've
Yes.
seen. Like I knew I was gonna have fun with it no matter what. But I kind of went in like thinking, I wonder if it's gonna be as good as Shin Godzilla, if it's gonna be up there. And I think I actually can easily say I actually liked it more than Shin Godzilla.
Which is crazy for me because I was a big fan of Shin Godzilla, and I was like, I don't know if I've seen a better Godzilla film in a really long time after watching Shin Godzilla. But we did do a review for Godzilla minus one up on our YouTube channel. If you've been interested in possibly checking out Godzilla, maybe you've heard some rumblings about it, go ahead and check out our review. I did go ahead and give it a grade, but I would agree with you, Stuart. I was kind of impressed at the idea that I found myself enjoying it even more than Shin Godzilla, and I think a lot of it had to do probably with the humanity of the movie. I really enjoyed the characters, and while I enjoyed the characters from Shin Godzilla, there was very much sort of like a government vibe around it, right? Like, how does the country itself have to deal with it? Where this was very much more on the smaller scale of really like dealing with individuals and the impact of what Godzilla's kind of done with their life. So there's a humanistic aspect to minus one that I think might have been missing from Shin Godzilla in that sense.
Oh yeah, you're spot on. Like with Shin Godzilla, loved it and everything, but when it came to the characters, it was very much like Game of Thrones in the sense of how many there were and how like neither one of them had like the sole focus. There wasn't really like a main character really to follow in Shin Godzilla. Whereas like in Godzilla minus one, we have a main character, we have an awesome group of supporting characters, and I love how they went like the complete opposite route with Shin Godzilla. Like in Shin Godzilla, very much like we're focused on the government's perspective throughout the whole thing. And in this one, we don't really get much of the government's perspective. We just get what the civilians are hearing from the government. We don't really actually see like what the people working there are actually doing. So I like how they went with two completely kind of opposite ways to tackle Godzilla in both these movies. And both of them work really well in their own ways. But man, yeah, the way they did with Godzilla minus one got me emotional at the end, not gonna lie.
Yeah, it really was. But yeah, guys, again, if you want to check out our review, we do have a review up there, Godzilla minus one, up on our channel as of right now, if you want to go ahead and check it out. Quick shout out also for Ram Jam. He says Macaulay Culkin just received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Yeah, I did see that. I think even some of the cast members from Home Alone was there. The lady that played his mom was there too, which I thought was kind of cool, kind of coming full circle for Macaulay Culkin, but pretty badass.
Also, dude's looking fit now.
Yeah, he looks pretty healthy.
Last time I had seen him, it was either in American Horror Story or in that Angry Video Game Nerd episode he made a cameo in. Whichever one though, not that he looked unhealthy or anything, but definitely was not looking the way he is now.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It feels like I feel like Macaulay Culkin's had a roller coaster of a life and a career for sure. But yeah, I would agree with you. He's looking great right now. Shout out also to Frankie. What's up, Frankie? Good to see you in here, man. What the $5 super chat again definitely does go a long way, guys. If you want to support our channel monetarily, this definitely do appreciate it. That will definitely be going to hopefully getting some better equipment. I've been keeping my eye on a brand new microphone, so we'll definitely see if we can get some upgrades around here in that regards. But Frankie, we always appreciate your support, man, each and every week. I know I see you coming through with your thoughts and opinions as well, so we certainly appreciate it. Stuart, let's go ahead and kick off this show, man. You ready to go?
That sounds like an awesome idea.
Let's start off with our first segment. We did have a quick little tease this week. Sonic 3, I think, is either going into production or it might have just wrapped. I think it might have just started. Correct me if I'm wrong, though, Stuart, but they did go ahead and drop this brand new photo here to tease us of what's to come in Sonic 3. Are you kind of hyped for this one?
Yeah, I mean, they've hit it out of the park twice already. So I look forward to this one definitely.
If Sonic ends up being the greatest video game movie adaptation trilogy of all time, I would not be surprised. I would agree with you. I think they've nailed it two times in a row so far. It almost feels like they know exactly what type of franchise and movie they want to be, and they've certainly embraced it. So yeah, I'm hyped for Sonic 3 as well. But we did get ourselves a nice little tease of that also. Enrique is reminding us too that all the Marvel movies have been moved to 2025, while Deadpool 3 will release in 2024. See, this is what happens when we don't get the opportunity to have a Hero Report episode. Like all these stories from like months back are now creeping up on us, that we have to kind of address everything. Yes, we are technically only getting one Marvel movie in 2025, and that is in fact, or excuse me, 2024, and that is in fact Deadpool 3. So we will at least get some Marvel Studios goodness for next year. But I think I personally think it's a very smart move, Stuart. What do you think, though?
Oh yeah, couple reasons why. One, I do think that people having a little bit of a bigger break between Marvel movies will encourage more people to see the next one when it comes out. And then two, it gives them time to kind of rethink their strategy, kind of going forward, because clearly what they're doing now, I don't want to say that they're like failing or anything like that, but they aren't making the profit that they used to, and clearly audiences aren't enjoying these movies as much as they used to. So it's a good idea for Marvel to kind of take a step back and just kind of like look at what they want to do with the franchise going forward, what they can do to kind of win some people over. I have a solution, but I'm going to wait till we get into our first article before I bring it up.
All right, fantastic, fantastic. For those of you who don't know, this past weekend was also CCXP 2023, which is a brand new sort of Brazilian convention that they have each and every year. I want to say they've probably had it over the past 2 or 3 years. I've been keeping my eye on it, Stuart, because these big movie studios and streamers have really utilized CCXP. It feels like as another sort of big launching point for a lot of their promotional stuff. I kind of think of San Diego Comic-Con as one. I usually think of like New York City Comic-Con as another one. But I'm starting to put CCXP up there as well as another one. And I think even maybe CinemaCon might be like a fourth one that we might have on a yearly basis that really brings out a ton of information. And this weekend was no exception in that regards either, as we got ourselves some great new first looks at some upcoming seasons and movies. First trailer that we wind up getting that I do want to talk about, Stuart, is The Boys season 4. Season 4 is actually a season we were supposed to get this year, but I believe due to the writer's strike and the actor strike, they decided to go ahead and postpone it. So now we're getting it. It says 2024. I don't know if they officially set up a release date yet. I can't remember from the trailer whether or not we have one, but we do have ourselves a new trailer for season 4. You had the opportunity to check it out, Stuart. I believe so. What were some of your thoughts on it?
Oh boy. um yeah, like first of all, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, always a win.
Yeah.
Second of all, yeah, it's not even the trailer that got me hyped, but just the fact that like now Homelander genuinely thinks he's untouchable at this point. And he was dangerous before when he had his reputation that he was like trying to keep in check and things like that. But now that that's thrown out the way, now that he realizes that there are crazy people that'll follow him no matter what he does, I am excited and terrified to see what he does this season. So that's the number one thing I'm hyped for.
Yeah, I will. Is he running for president, or is it some sort of like campaign, or something he's promoting? I don't know what it is, but it does feel like he's got that level of momentum sort of around his back, on his back. There's definitely a lot of celebration for this man. And I gotta say, man, first off, I would agree with you. I love this trailer. From just the eerie, ominous tones of like the music that we had, it just feels like something big is coming. That it don't matter how many seasons of the boys you've watched. It doesn't matter how many surprises the boys have given you. Like it feels like we haven't seen anything yet. And that's just the vibes that I get. And the one thing that I love about this show too, Stuart, and especially with this trailer, is that it just feels like it mimics our current life, our current society. You know, like when I think of Homelander, I think of like a Donald Trump sort of scenario. And whether you love the guy or hate the guy, the idea that he's now realizing he's got this absolute power, he can do anything, he's going to have supporters that are going to back him no matter what. It does feel very much like a clash of societies. I mean, we even have a new superhero, the Truth Bomb or some shit like that. Like somebody that maybe wants to speak the truth, you know, for free speech advocate for all I know. There's just so many details that just feel like a twist of our current society and reality. And the fact that they have somehow turned this into a superhero show, it just blows my mind how on the nose. And I think how relevant this season is probably going to be. And I think probably one of the seasons that a lot of people will probably gravitate to. But that's just, those are just the vibes that I'm getting. Am I crazy for reading into it that way?
No, no, not at all. I mean, the even from season one, it's always been,
It has,
it's always had something to say in
right.
regards to the real world. I think the
Absolutely.
way it kind of mimics celebrity culture in a lot of ways was always like kind of a really brilliant allegory that they've had. And then, now, like you've kind of been making like with the comparison with Homelander and Donald Trump. It's like, yeah, I've been kind of seeing that since like season two, a
Mhm.
lot of the times. And yeah, I think that going forward, that's something that the show always does like a really good job at. Even though, okay, so obviously I don't watch, these reviews per se, but I see them used as examples in like other people's like videos about the boys. But you'll see like YouTubers every now and then that apparently don't get the point and think that Homelander is supposed to be a character we're rooting for, which is kind of terrifying to think about. You can watch a show like The Boys and think, oh yeah, Homelander, he's like their Superman, right? um, but yeah, that being said, though, I am really looking forward to this season, and yeah, I think that it looks like every season when I think what more can they really tell, what kind of stories left to tell, they always find a way to surprise me.
Yeah, I would agree. And they had a really great line in here about the, why do democracies fail? And it's like because people are fucking stupid, and that they go through like past societies that were democratic, and then her idea of bringing up the concept of maybe becoming somebody like Caesar. That's very much seems to entice the thought for Homelander in regards to how he can really kind of push his power. I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm really am. I have not checked out Gen V yet. Have you checked out the Gen V stuff yet?
No, not yet. I haven't even checked out Invincible season 2 yet,
Yeah, I haven't had
which
a
is
chance to
also
get
out
around
on
to it.
Amazon.
But I believe Gen V takes place between seasons 3 and seasons 4. So I am kind of curious if there are any connective tissues. So I may want to check out Gen V before I dive into season 4. But again, if you have not checked out the trailer for The Boys season 4, it is currently up on our YouTube page, or excuse me, our Facebook page. Definitely go ahead and check it out over there. Another trailer that we wind up getting, which kind of really surprised me. Our first look at Furiosa. George Miller is back, baby, part of the Mad Max saga. Furiosa is meant to be a prequel to the most recent Mad Max movie that we certainly had, as we got Anya Taylor-Joy that is playing the same character, Furiosa, that um why am I blanking on her name? Who did she play? Why am I blanking on her name right now? Who played Furiosa in Mad Max?
Oh, um,
Theron.
uh, Charlize Theron, yeah.
Charlize Theron. Thank you very much. I'm so sorry about that, guys. We did get ourselves some brand new images as well. I gotta say, Stuart, first off, George Miller just has such a unique style when he does his movies. I love his vision, his cinematography, the practical effects sort of use. It does look like he might have a lot more CGI, certainly in this one for sure when it comes to special effects, but it all just looks stunning as he just really creates this post-apocalyptic world sort of thing. But it seems like we're definitely going to be getting the opportunity to explore Furiosa here at a younger age, learning a little bit more about her origin story. Clearly, she's been taken from her parents or from her home, and really her main drive is to find her way back. This is just a little bit of a teaser trailer. Chris Hemsworth is in here, and if you ask me, Stuart, I almost barely recognize this dude. Like, if I didn't know it was Chris Hemsworth, I'd probably be looking at the screen like, is that Hemsworth? Is that Hemsworth? Like the prosthetics, the makeup look really great in regards to him in here. I think he even had some comments recently, and you can see him here almost like on a chariot being pulled by some motorcycles, which is pretty badass
Yeah.
with a big old cape behind him. But he really talks about just how deadly and vicious his character certainly is. And so when you have him in here, Anya Taylor-Joy looking extremely fantastic. She very much resembles Charlize Theron from the movie, and a lot of the close-up shots that we see in this particular trailer. And then, of course, one of the infamous characters from the Mad Max movie as well is also in here. But I think this is a stunning trailer, honestly. This really caught my attention. I'm ready to revisit this world. It's been a minute since we've visited, and George Miller's got my attention. What did you think about this trailer?
Yeah, I thought it looked absolutely fantastic. Loved the previous Mad Max movie when we got to see her character introduced, so really excited to see this prequel. Although the one thing I will say is in the trailer, we know what her goal is, but we also know because of the most recent Mad Max movie and the fact that this is a prequel to that she does not meet that goal at the end of this movie unless this movie does like a huge time jump or something. But all that being said, visuals look incredible. I can't wait to see what he does with the stunt performances because that was one of the biggest highlights of the previous Mad Max movies. Yes, there does look to be like a lot, like you mentioned, a lot more CG, but I do think that even if it's like a CG vehicle, I think it will be like a physical vehicle that's there, but it's just the vehicle that they just couldn't physically design will be pasted on top of it. Probably because they could design these vehicles, but they just wouldn't run the way they need them to, like for some of the shots that they need. That's my assumption of why it is that there's a little more CG there. But that all being said, though, yeah, I think it looks fantastic. And as long as we get those on location desert shots like we got in the last one, I think it's going to look fantastic.
Yeah, I totally agree with you also. So again, if you guys haven't checked out the Furiosa trailer, that is also up on our Facebook page as well. Another trailer that they wind up dropping for us, and I think highly anticipated for a lot of people, the return of House of the Dragon, baby. That's right. It is coming back summer of 2024. They gave us not only brand new posters, but also a brand new trailer as well. I'm not going to lie, Stuart. It's been a minute since I've watched House of the Dragon. So when I watched this trailer, I was like, what's going on again? So I do need to, me and the girlfriend were watching it. We were just in awe how great the trailer certainly looked. We did see some returning characters, some familiar faces that I was like, oh yeah, that's right. That guy did that thing. And then that guy did that thing. And it's kind of coming all together once again. And so it looks great, man. I'm actually absolutely loving it. We got ourselves a king now as well, very, very much younger. I'm kind of curious to see like what his how he handles certainly being on the throne. Who's going to be pulling his strings? Is he his own man sort of thing? The family dynamic in here is just bananas to me, but I cannot wait to see how this all turns out. Did you have the opportunity to check out the trailer for this one at all? I think it was like a minute and a half or something like that.
I did. Unfortunately, what the trailer did for me was remind me a lot of what I kind of forgot happened in the last few episodes. And I think it's just because like the first like half of the season, very much like it was all like, one specific, like it wasn't all one time period. They had their time jumps, but they weren't like as sporadic as they were like kind of later on in the show. And I think because of that, once the king passes away from his illness, I think that's when like so much happens like in so little time that like I need a little bit of a refresher before I go into this next season.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I do need a little bit of a refresher for sure. I mean, and the one thing I do love about House of Dragon though is that it's not very many episodes. So it definitely is something that me and the girlfriend will probably sit down and rewatch before the second season winds up beginning. But it looks great. Visually, it looks stunning. We're definitely going to continue with the drama. The incredible dragon action. So yeah, bring it on, man. But a lot of people are certainly anticipating it as well. But yeah, I think that will do it for all of our honorable mentions and trailers. We are going to get into one more trailer, which will be Fallout, but we'll talk about that as we get to the Fallout article itself. Shout out also to Doomsday for certainly coming through. What's up? He says, glad to have you back. It's good to be back, man. It's good to be talking about all this stuff with you guys. Let's see here. Marcelino says The Boys is finally returning. Still a missed opportunity that you guys, particularly Stuart, didn't review Gen V. Yeah, man, we're kind of bummed we didn't get a chance to review it. But trust me when I say I'm sure we got plenty of other stuff that we're going to be reviewing for you guys. Maybe we'll definitely get to season 4 of The Boys around here. Enrique says, did you see Disney's Wish in theaters? Have you, Stuart?
No.
No, I haven't either. I haven't really heard great things about it. The trailers didn't really do anything for me. I've seen the same trailer overall online and in the movie theaters, and the art style looks pretty cool. But for the most part, like the premise alone sounds interesting. I was very much under the impression that this was supposed to be like a movie about the star that's granted so many wishes throughout the Disney the Disney franchise and things like that. And I've heard from reviewers that there are connections and things and references to other Disney stories, but the main story itself is lacking as far as some of the things that I've heard. But again, I personally have not had the opportunity to see the movie to judge for myself. But if you have seen the movie, Enrique, I'm kind of curious to know what you thought. But the trailers itself didn't really intrigue me enough to make me wanting to go and see the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I haven't seen it myself personally, but it's the only Disney movie where I've seen so many people unanimously complaining about not just the songs, but specifically the lyrics of the songs, like saying that the lyrics are just really lazy or something.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's stunning. Okay. So yeah, we'll see what happens when it comes to that film. But yeah, guys, we got a bunch of topics to get into. Are you ready to go ahead and tackle these topics with me, Stuart?
Always.
Let's do it, man. Topic number 1 today, and I believe, Stuart, the banners should be up and ready to go. If you can just handle the banners and the comments, that would be great. So let's go ahead and get into our first topic, shall we? Look, when it comes to Marvel Studios, I know we haven't been around in a while to certainly talk with you guys about it, but this might be like a code orange or code red alert right now over at Marvel Studios as they're trying to really navigate their way through things, whether it be underperforming box office at the moment, whether it be lackluster storylines that really haven't had the same impact that the first 3 phases of Marvel Studios has certainly had. We've heard things from Bob Iger talking about the idea that expanding more has really sort of diluted the storytelling and things like that. Quantity over quality has certainly been one of Marvel Studios' issues. Again, not to say that all these movies are bad. I personally have certainly enjoyed them. I have found them good, but maybe not to the standard that I think a lot of us has certainly been expecting. And so that definitely has thrown a big emergency over at Disney. And honestly, Stuart, I do think the idea of these strikes have maybe benefited Marvel Studios in the sense of being able to take a step back, and maybe Kevin Feige, even though they can't write things, maybe coming up with another game plan in regards to how to have a plan B or sort of maneuver around ways. But if there's anybody, Stuart, that maybe Marvel Studios might want to hear from, I found it pretty interesting that the Marvel star herself, Iman Vellani, who plays Miss Marvel and is also a big Marvel Studios fan, has come out this past week in a recent interview giving a little advice to Marvel Studios in regards to maybe how they can certainly right that ship. So let me go ahead and bring up this article here, and I'll get your perspective on this as well. Miss Marvel star Iman Vellani explains how the MCU can reach endgame level hype again. This comes to us from direct.com. It says, here we go. In an exclusive interview with the Direct's Russ Milham, the star Iman Vellani explained how MCU could reach that level hype once again. When asked directly what she thinks Marvel Studios needs to do to recapture the magic, the actress behind Miss Marvel claimed that it's just about making the audience care about their characters. She says, I don't know. I don't know if it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, because then, like, what's left, you know? I think it's just about making the audience care about their characters. And I think they've established so many wonderful characters in the last phase of the MCU that it would be nice to see them all again and see them team up. Vellani also explained how all these new characters appearing, fans also just want to see maybe new pair ups and crossovers. She says, I think because there are so many new characters, people want to like start shipping people together and be like, oh, seeing Kamala and like Red Guardian together, like imagining all these pair ups. And I think that would definitely pay off. It'll be like, you know, the next Avengers. And then she talks about speaking as a fan. She says, but yeah, I mean, I'm speaking as a fan. Like, I'm still there every Thursday night. Like, all Thursday night openings of these movies, they're just like a source of happiness for me. And the commercial success honestly doesn't determine the enjoyment of a film for me. I think that's super important. Like, I judge a movie by the feeling it left me with. And yeah, I do want to leave a movie feeling a little lighter and a little happier. And I hope that audiences do too. Um, Let's see here. It says they then joke that the pressure of a team up is all on Miss Marvel now due to her recruitment starting at the end of the Marvels. She says, I guess I trust her. I think she knows what she's doing. She's got the little saber tablet. It probably has a lot of information on it that she can take. She says, that is, I mean, I'm definitely changed. I can't watch these movies or shows the same way. It's just like, I know when things are green screen now. I know when like how the movie, how like they film certain fight scenes and stuff. But I think watching like real people work on these movies and seeing all the effort and manpower that goes into making a movie like this, it just humanizes the films for me so much more. They have so much to offer beyond the amazing storytelling. Every single person that works at Marvel Studios is genuinely a fan and so in love with their craft and in love with their job. I think that the dedication to their work is what makes a good, if not great, movie. So I've gotten to meet a lot of really cool people. Yes, it's like kind of ruined now, I guess, for her. So yeah, Aman Vellani coming out talking about some things that she personally would like to see. She thinks the idea of maybe possibly crossing over some characters, shipping some characters together will definitely get some people excited. But I do like her comment and that the commercial success honestly doesn't determine the enjoyment of a film for her. And then the idea of just really making the audience care about their characters certainly would go a long way, especially how they established the first few sets of Avenger members. Any comments or thoughts in regards to some of what she had to say?
Yeah, I mean, two things. First, going back to what you were mentioning about like not letting commercial success impede your judgment on a movie. Yeah, I think it's important that we all try to do that, along with when we're deciding whether or not we want to see a movie and we're more leaning towards wanting to see it, we shouldn't let bad reviews like stop us from seeing that movie, or let those bad reviews again like impede on our like judgment when we see these movies as well. And the other thing that she kind of mentions is, scaling it back, remembering like what one thing that people love about these movies, which is like the characters. She mentions a solution, which is, doing more crossovers, having these characters interact. And I think that is a great idea, because looking at the Marvels, I still think like the first third of the movie was actually pretty solid. When it was just like the characters meeting each other, getting to know each other. And then, of course, we get a lot from Kamala's parents, which I thought were like, they were just hilarious every single time they were on screen, all that. But then the movie started kind of going downhill for me when suddenly it becomes less about the characters and becomes more about the story, which they clearly didn't put a lot of thought into. So it really becomes more about the next fight scene. How are we going to set up the next fight scene? How are we going to set up the next big spectacle scene? And I think that like this is a problem I'm kind of having with Marvel movies. And I kind of started noticing this with Shang-Chi, which I love Shang-Chi, don't get me wrong, but ever since Endgame, it feels like every Marvel movie has wanted to up the stakes even more rather than stepping back and saying, okay, we had this huge climactic battle. Not every movie needs to be a world-ending situation. They're not doing that. Instead, every movie has an Endgame-like situation. So for Shang-Chi, the reason I bring that one up as an example is because I thought it was a very solid movie right up until the very final part where suddenly the monsters that were, I'll give it this, they were hinted at from the beginning of the movie, so it makes sense that, you know, Chekhov's monster, whatever. Um, but I thought it was so much better when the focus was just on him and his dad and the big fight between them at the end. I still don't understand why that couldn't have been the climax of the movie. Why them fighting off
The
the 10
dragon.
rings. Yeah, the 10 rings, not the dragons.
Mhm.
Why the fight with the 10 rings, why that couldn't have been, you know, the climax at the very end. I don't know why we needed to add that, you know, whole thing with the dragon. It just felt like unnecessary. And I think that's been the case with a lot of Marvel movies. They seem to have like a good story going, but they really want it to be like world ending stakes. So they end up making it like bigger than it needs to be. And so to me, I think they're just putting too much money into these movies. So when they fail, they don't make as much money back as they, you know, normally could have. If they start like, if they start investing less money into special effects and more into, you know, basically story. In other words, you know, if they stop spending so much money for special effects, you know, the writers are forced to come up with more story, and therefore you end up getting something a lot better. And even if it's not a big success, if you're only spending like, let's say, $120 million on it, as opposed to like the $250 million they've been spending on these movies, if they don't make a huge profit, it's not the biggest loss for them too. So that's kind of my big suggestion with Marvel personally, is I think they just need to take a big step back from like the big battles and just save those for the team up movies. You know, they don't need those for all the solo films that they've been releasing, because like Mon Vellani says, it's the characters that we really care about at the end of the day. It's the same thing that James Gunn has been saying, and it's why I think that, you know, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, when people talk about them not liking Marvel's phase 4 and 5, it seems like everyone seems to agree that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is kind of the exception to that.
Yeah, for me, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 certainly is the exception when it comes to a lot of these phases. So I definitely would agree with you there. Yeah, man. I there are certainly some sentiments about her that she had to say that I totally agree with. Also, definitely the idea of characters certainly coming first. I kind of dig that idea of like shipping some characters together as far as combining them. Like you mentioned, the idea that they did exactly that when it comes to the Marvels. Where the character stuff comes from, I felt was really the most powerful stuff that we got out of that movie. The idea of really focusing on these women, their growth, the situations that they found themselves in, some of the drama that had to be tackled, and it was to the point to where I actually wanted to see a little bit more of that, especially when for some people that are coming into seeing Kamala Khan for the very first time, because to me, while I enjoyed the film, the plot was certainly thin. You know, like you mentioned, going to the next battle, having a pretty lackluster sort of villain, but a very powerful one that certainly seemed like, you know, ripping a tear into the multiverse or space-time continuum sort of thing. These really big battles, but for the most part, it's just still rather thin. So I do agree. I do think that the idea of having the focus on the characters is certainly the direction to go. I mean, when you think of the very first couple of phases that we had of Marvel, that's exactly what we wind up getting. You know, not every Iron Man movie, not every Captain America movie was universe threatening. It was very much on a very personal, sort of grounded level. And I think the idea of introducing us to all these characters certainly has been fun, but it definitely feels like these stakes are so much bigger when they don't necessarily need to be right now. So the idea of continuing to try and get bigger and bigger, I think you kind of back yourself a little bit into a corner. So, you know, the idea of like, hey, if we want to focus on a brand new character, you know, I have no problem with taking Amon Vellani's advice in the sense of let's focus on this one character here. And if we want to ship them with another character or have them connected to another character or bring somebody else in for that adventure, you know, bring somebody in that you know is going to elevate that character and put them into a position of having more power, having more recognition, so that when we do get to eventual Avengers films, they have that level of gravitas that certainly accompanies them, but you use those characters that you've already established to help bring up some of these younger characters that we're getting for the very first time. So I would definitely recommend them focus on that, and maybe smaller threats that really do elevate them to these bigger time sort of superheroes. So I would agree. I do think that we're kind of missing out on that. And one of the things that I continue to see and hear is just really that idea of we're spending way too much money on these films. If you can bring these films to under $150 million, maybe $100 million, the idea that you're putting these movies out and they're like 250 million, like, no, what are we doing here? You're just doing way too much at that point. Because I think we've seen our fair share of great comic book slash superhero movies, or not even that so much, but just really great cinema that's being made for very small amounts of money. They still have some great special effects in here. Again, you don't have to put so much money towards special effects and have something so big and bombastic. I think it's time to maybe get back to these smaller interpersonal stories, and maybe grab some people's attention again. Because when you start getting bigger and trying to get bigger and bigger, Stuart, then that's where I feel like you start just becoming another generic comic book movie, and you're
Mhm.
not sort of separating yourself from anybody else. And I think that's what we really loved about the Marvel for quite some time. I mean, the idea of Captain America doing a spy espionage movie, like what? And it worked out extremely well with the Winter Soldier. So I do want them to get back into the idea of, let's not keep recycling superhero aspects in these movies. Let's really kind of change things up a little bit, make smaller movies that have big impacts. And I think more people will take will recognize them again and hopefully come back out to the box office. I do think that there's a lot more going on than just bad storytelling, but it definitely is a part of it for sure, though.
Yeah.
Let me see what some of you guys are saying in here as well.
The other thing too, now that I'm thinking about it as well, is them constantly trying to get that $1 billion again, trying to make everything $1 billion success. When I think I think just in general, there might be a lot of people that have that superhero fatigue, so they may not honestly be able to get that next $1 billion movie anytime soon. So they just, no, I think they should also make these movies without expecting it to make $1 billion.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. They definitely have to have that mindset. Let's see here. Marcelino says, I enjoyed the Marvels, but I've heard people say it's the most pointless MCU project and they should only watch the post credit scene on YouTube and not support it in any way. That's a little ridiculous to me, but
Yeah.
a little bit over the top. I heard a few people say that they liked Morbius more than the Marvels. Okay, I don't know what they were. Yeah, yeah, that's just outlandish. They're just doing that for the clicks then.
Yeah.
Um, Marcelino says, bring back the Defenders. Some of the C and D list superhero teams do more crossovers. We should have gotten Avengers film earlier and not wait until Kang Dynasty. You know, I am fascinated in the formula that Marvel has come up with in regards to their decision to roll out the films as films and television series the way that they have, leading into something like Avengers Kang Dynasty. I just think that we just gotten way too much, way too quickly. I think even Bob Iger has mentioned the idea of like lack of supervision on some of these film sets and stuff because of the fact that they've got so many projects that are certainly happening right now, to kind of keep these stories and the vision of what they're supposed to be very tight. So I do think that they have certainly run themselves extremely thin. I think that they've also given general audiences just way too much homework in regards to having to keep up with television series and the movies sort of thing. My main mentality has very much been the idea of, I think your main storyline should always funnel directly through the movies. And then if you want to have side adventures or introduce certain characters on the side, that's certainly more than fine. But whatever your main plot and main arc is, I think needs to run solely just through the movies so that the general audience can come and sit down into any movie. If they haven't seen any Disney Plus series, they're more than fine. Like, I really would have liked to have seen an even bigger origin-esque story for Kamala Khan in something like the Marvels. Because while I personally appreciated it because I've seen the Miss Marvel series, there's definitely a lot more I think can certainly be learned from Miss Marvel if the general audience member is just going to see the Marvels and that's it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I think there's certainly a lot of work that they certainly need to do, but I do think that Kevin Feige and them are certainly, hopefully, taking that advice from Iman Vellani and others. I don't know if Kevin Feige is just like on the phone with Iman Vellani trying to get writing down some notes and stuff. Who knows? But I do love Iman's passion. Honestly, how do you feel about her being a part of the MCU? Because she seems like she's more of a fan first and then a movie star later, if you will.
I think she could potentially be the next Robert Downey Jr. of the MCU if she keeps up this momentum. Because yeah, her passion's there, and she always in both the Miss Marvel and the Marvels, she has given like an amazing performance. So yeah, I really look forward to seeing her, like both her as an actress and her character of Miss Marvel kind of grow throughout the years.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I think that one of the very end scene that we got for the Marvels just showcases just the light that they want people to kind of see her in. Now, having her sort of be the Nick Fury doing the recruiting and stuff, I
Mhm.
thought was a really sort of nice touch, very much echoing the Nick Fury and Tony Stark conversation we had from Iron Man 1. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. Aman Vellani giving her advice to Marvel Studios and how to right the ship. If you had the opportunity to sit down with Kevin Feige to right the ship, what advice would you give him? Certainly let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below or the live chat as we're going live. And let's just piggyback up on this story, Stuart, because as Kevin Feige and Bob Iger continue to try and work out what to do with Marvel Studios as of right now, the big question comes what to do with Avengers Kang Dynasty. This is a movie that has officially lost its writer and Jeff Loveness, who also wrote Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. They have also lost their director, as I believe um, Daniel Destin Creighton, I believe his name is, the director for Shang-Chi, has been let go of Avengers Kang Dynasty. He has not been let go of Marvel Studios as he still continues to plan on doing his Wonder Man series along with Shang-Chi 2, but they are taking him off of directing for Avengers Kang Dynasty, which to me, Stuart, now that this movie does not have a writer or a director, definitely tells me that they're certainly changing course and trying to come up with another idea. So you've lost your writer, your director. Jonathan Majors, who plays Kang the Conqueror, just began his trial in New York this past week as well. So Marvel Studios is probably not waiting around to figure out what the verdict is in regards to we need to do something different. So this week's tour, we actually wind up getting ourselves an announcement on a new writer for Avengers Kang Dynasty. It might be a minute before we actually get the opportunity to see this movie, but Marvel is not waiting in regards to who they would like to have as their new writer. And it looks like Avengers Kang Dynasty hires the Loki series creator, Michael Waldron, as screenwriter. So interesting choice here. They're sticking with Michael Waldron, who helped bring us the first season of Loki. I believe he was part of the writing team as well for Loki season 2. I don't know if he was the main writer, but I do believe he might have certainly assisted in formulating that series and putting it together. But they have hired him to be the writer for Kang Dynasty. So yeah, this is from Variety.com. Michael Waldron has been hired to write the screenplay. He was already on board to pen the sequel, Avengers Secret Wars. So he's already on board for an Avengers movie, which will conclude this stretch known as the Multiverse Saga. The films will presumably be connected. Similar to how Infinity War and Endgame was. Kang Dynasty is currently scheduled to land in theaters on May 1st in 2026, and it will be succeeded by the Avengers Secret Wars in May 7th of 2027. So they have moved this movie back a year, if I'm not mistaken. I do believe this movie was set to go ahead and drop in 2025, but now we're getting Kang Dynasty in 2026 and Secret Wars in 27. However, neither of these films has a director director. Destin Daniel Cretton recently departed Kang Dynasty, and they have yet to find a filmmaker for Secret Wars. Says, go ahead.
And to think they almost came out the same year.
Right? That would have been bananas, man. He says, beyond its directors, the state of Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars has been a subject of speculation. That's because Jonathan Majors has already played multiple versions of Kang. But the actor's future with Marvel has been in question. Waldron has long been steeped in the lore of Marvel, serving as the showrunner for the first season of Loki. He also wrote Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which grossed nearly $1 billion globally. So yeah, and then 2024 is going to be pretty slow with Deadpool 3. So look, I'm gonna be honest here, Stuart. I kind of like this move. One, because of the fact that I feel like we've had sort of so many cooks in the kitchen for such a long period of time that I kind of like the idea of the same writer from Secret Wars taking over Kang Dynasty. I was a fan of Loki season one. I think it was probably my favorite series out of the Disney Plus stuff that we wind up getting, probably closely by like Miss Marvel and then maybe WandaVision. And then even Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Those are probably like four of my favorite Marvel TV series that we've gotten. And so to be able to establish a Loki series and then help in formulating season two, I feel like Loki's series, along with these Avengers films, are probably going to be the most powerful and very like most important stories that we have told during this multiverse. So I kind of like the idea of Michael Waldron, who I believe comes from the Rick and Morty scheme, very much how others did too. I think Jeff Loveness might have been a part of that camp as well. But I've really enjoyed what Michael Waldron has been doing since he wound up linking up with Marvel Studios. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. For me, when you tell me you're going to get the same writer for Kang Dynasty as you have for Secret Wars, this tells me that you want your stories to all feel connected and to have some cohesion to it, and not feel like it's being stretched a little too thin with two different visions and two different storytellers. Just get the same writer for the same one. And for me, I feel like that's Marvel sort of recognizing the idea that maybe there are too many cooks in the kitchen. Michael Waldron has done nothing but prove himself since he's been a part of the MCU. So I'm a big fan of this. But what do you think, Stuart? How do you feel about Michael Waldron taking the next step as a writer here?
I mean, yeah, that makes a lot of sense because Loki season one, quite a big success along with season two. Plus, with these movies being very multiverse related, I think that no one knows the Marvel multiverse more than these guys at this point, since they're kind of the ones who I don't want to say wrote the book on it because technically that was all done in Endgame, but they're the ones that really fleshed out the book of timelines and multiverses within the Marvel universe. So I think these guys so I think that the showrunner of Loki taking over as head writer for these movies, probably a smart move at least for the time being.
Yeah, I would agree. I think if there's any, I will say it does mention the idea that he wrote also Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And while that movie definitely did almost make $1 billion, there was definitely some pushback about that movie, maybe being a little bit too all over the place, maybe trying to do too much, if you will, a convoluted storyline and plot and things like that. While I walked away enjoying it, I thought Sam Raimi was a great director as well. Look, if Kang Dynasty is looking for another director, I would not mind the idea of Sam Raimi coming back. I do think he did a great job with Into the Multiverse of Madness. But there might be some people that are a little bit worried in that regards of Michael Waldron being on there. But to be honest with you, Stuart, I don't know why I feel like Doctor Strange 2 might have had an issue of studio executives maybe fumbling with it a little bit, maybe getting their sticky fingers on it, maybe wanting to include this and then include this and include that, and it just become a big convoluted mess. Have you heard stories like that at all, or do you think that that's more on Michael Waldron as a writer for what we wind up getting when for Multiverse of Madness?
Hard to say. It definitely feels like a lot of the decisions that were made in Multiverse of Madness didn't necessarily come from the writer, but really came from, studio executives wanting certain things. Like if I found out the whole scene with, the Illuminati in it was actually done by Marvel, I wouldn't be surprised at all. So,
Yeah.
so for me, I could see it going either way. Personally, yeah, I think that if I had to guess, I would assume that the script that we got for Multiverse of Madness was a lot different from the movie that we ended up seeing in theaters. So I wouldn't hold it too much against him because we've seen what he can do when he's working on a show that doesn't have as much restrictions, because we've seen how funny he can be on Rick and Morty, and we've seen how brilliant he can be when it comes to Loki. So yeah, it's hard to say for sure, but I think with what we've seen so far from him, it looks like he knows what he's doing in terms of, as long as he has enough room to write and he doesn't have as many studio executives breathing down his neck. I think he can pull something out.
And this movie is still 2.5 years away.
Yeah.
So I do think that this helps not only help right the ship, but now that we know that we're going to have one main writer for the overall arc of these Avenger films, it does make me wonder now, like, are he and Kevin Feige getting together with some of the other writers for some of the upcoming movies and television series and really trying to kind of get all on the same page, right? Like we've had Armor Wars go from a television series to a movie. I am kind of curious to know, like, is Ironheart going to stay a television series? What's the impact going to be like that in there? But again, our next MCU project outside of Deadpool 3 is going to be in 2025. So we've got some time. So hopefully they can kind of figure things out behind the scenes. But good news if you're an Avengers fan. I personally think, as Michael Waldron has been announced as Kang Dynasty writer. So we'll see what happens there. And then from that story, Stuart, let's just continue into our world of the MCU, shall we? Because while we are still waiting for another Marvel movie, come 2025, we will be getting ourselves Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts is a fascinating one in regards to comic book wise. It was very much a group of villains sort of masquerading themselves as superheroes to gain notoriety and power before eventually revealing themselves to be main villains. And so the idea of us coming into a Thunderbolts movie, they're definitely going to be taking some of their liberties, if you will. But Stuart, when you look at the group that we have so far that's being put together, when you're looking at the group so far of the people that are being put together for Thunderbolts, it's a pretty interesting group of characters that we have here. Some good, some bad, some with shady pasts, some with questions that certainly still need to be answered. But Wyatt Russell, who played the U.S. agent in Falcon and the Winter Soldier this week, came out and reassured some fans in the sense of, like, look, I know these movies haven't been going well, but when it comes to Thunderbolts, it's something you've never quite seen before. So I am kind of fascinated in this ensemble cast, what the main story is going to be, how pivotal in the MCU will this story be. So let's go ahead and highlight what Wyatt Russell certainly had to say here. I believe this is from the Hollywood Reporter. And he teases Thunderbolts. It's not a straightforward Marvel movie as you've seen in the past. And I think some people are certainly holding their breath or maybe relieved to certainly hear that. It says, first, though, Wyatt broke a little news when a moderator asked him about his role in the upcoming movie Thunderbolts, which the actor said has not started shooting and he has not read a finished script. Now, first off, Stuart, I look, I get the idea that we don't have a finished script here as of yet. Maybe because of the writer's strike and things like that, really put a pause on being able to put this movie together. But I just don't understand, how do you sign up for a movie that you've never haven't seen the finished script for? How do you promote what a movie is going to be if you yourself don't even know how it finishes? That kind of troubles me and worries me at times. But I feel like this is just a Hollywood thing, Stuart. Am I tripping or what?
Oh no, you're dead on. This is a Hollywood thing. This is how it happens. Well, according to this extra zero that they put in my paycheck, this movie is going to be one of the most incredible things that Marvel has ever produced. Because yeah, I feel like for most actors, they won't sign on to a movie unless they've read the script. But when it comes to Marvel, or just when it comes to like the really big blockbusters, those tend to be like the exception, because they know the exact amount of zeros to give to an actor to make them happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we continue though, we got sarcastic plot recaps. What's up, sarcastic? Appreciate you coming through. He says, "Has anyone got any interest in Echo or Thunderbolts? Why are they wasting all these millions on shite no one cares about?" Mental. Listen, just to give my opinion on Echo and Thunderbolts, I am interested. I was not interested in Echo until I saw a trailer, though, Stuart. The trailer really changed my mind. I was very much in the idea that, look, they're just dropping Echo, especially all at once, because of the idea that Marvel Studios is probably really worried and concerned about this. I feel like during production for Echo, we've heard nothing but like horror stories, or that it's not coming out the way Kevin Feige wanted to, and that's still a possibility, right?
Mhm.
Like we could get to Echo and it could be just complete crap, but they just know how to put together a very riveting trailer itself. The trailer alone really changed my mind in regards to being a little bit more optimistic about it, just because it feels like we're getting into our mature storytelling bag. We're getting into our R-rated stuff. It feels like a Netflix sort of series again. Again, that's just my impression based on the trailer. This show could not matter whatsoever. But characters like Daredevil, Kingpin, they definitely have me coming to the Echo series more than the Echo character itself. So I do think there's a possibility that it certainly surprises. Thunderbolts, on the other hand, man, I think the character lineup alone is fascinating to me. I love a good ensemble piece, especially if you bring somebody in that knows how to write for certain characters. I think Wyatt Russell as U.S. agent did one hell of a job in Falcon and a Winter Soldier to make me care about his mentally unstable ass and like what crazy shit he's gonna do next. And you put him alongside somebody like Winter Soldier who's still trying to prove himself. David Harbour as Red Guardian, who I thought was one of the bright spots of a movie like Black Widow, even if you didn't really care for it so much. Like I don't care about ghosts in here. I think maybe Taskmaster's in this. I can't remember or not, but there are certain characters that I don't care about. But I do think Thunderbolts, especially after we see something like Captain America 4, may feel even more impactful by the time that we certainly get to it. So while as of right now, it may not be like a lot of interest towards these shows, given time and given the closer that we get, and them taking this time to finish these scripts and not be released until 2025, I think there's a chance that a lot of that interest and that strong storytelling could really turn around, Stuart. What do you think, though?
Yeah. I When it comes to the Thunderbolts, I don't necessarily have high hopes, but I also don't have low hopes for it. This is one of those Marvel movies kind of going in with not too much hype, just to
Mhm.
see how it is. But yeah, I'm also not like expecting it to be bad or anything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
sorry,
think
that's the most boring answer I could give.
yeah, no, I mean, I'm not over the roof hyped for them, but they do have my interest because of the potential of what I think that they could be. Well, I will agree with sarcastic here in the sense that, like he says, I liked Hawkeye series till the 20-year-old girl smacked up the freaking Kingpin in the finale. I have no faith that they'll make the new Daredevil show any good. I think the fact that they're going to the drawing board for Daredevil does give me some level of hope, that they recognize, okay, this ain't gonna work. Let's change course here. So that does give me hope. I think there's reason to be interested in this stuff. Sarcastic, but time will tell. And unfortunately, the way things are right now, interest is dropping. But again, I think Marvel taking a step back, pushing these release dates back, give them that opportunity to make those adjustments so that hopefully by the time we get to them, sarcastic people are pretty hyped.
I
Um,
Is it bad that I really want to see those first 3 episodes of Daredevil Reborn?
just to see what they were like. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious what was so bad about them that made Marvel go, no, we're starting over. We're not doing this.
Yeah, did they only film 3? I thought it was like 6 that like 5 or 6 that they had under there, but maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, I thought it was only 3, but yeah,
It could
you
be.
might be right. There might have been more. I
It could be.
there's a sadistic part of me that wants to see what it looked like.
Maybe at a future convention. I always find like these booths that sell like plots that were like pilots that were never released on TV, sort of thing. So I wonder if maybe one day we'll get the Daredevil Born Again that was never aired. Because there's footage out there. I'm sure there's footage.
Oh yeah, there's got to be.
But let's go back to this Thunderbolt topic here, because Wyatt Russell is talking a little bit about it. So, despite having not read a finished script, he said, but despite that, I have confidence it's going to be good. Wyatt told the New York crowd. I know everybody is sort of on this Marvel train right now with things not going so well, he said, but commended the film's team, listing co-stars Florence Pugh, Sebastian Stan, David Harbour, and director Jack Schreier. He says, I know Jack so well, and I know how smart he is and how much he cares about making something interesting and different and utilizing everyone's talents to the best of their ability. And the story that I think they've come up with is really interesting. I know parts of the story and how the story works. I can't talk about it, but it's not a straightforward Marvel movie as you've seen in the past. I think that it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think it'll be something that hopefully Marvel fans will look at and go, oh, okay, this is a little different. Let's go hard at it. So, as far as how we are approaching it, it's time to go to work a little bit. It's time to make a good Marvel movie. So, let's do that and work hard at it and don't take things for granted. Which I think it's a powerful statement. I like the idea and the mentality of somebody knowing the situation of where Marvel Studios is at, and is thinking to himself, this movie ain't gonna fail on my watch, right? Like if this movie fails, it ain't gonna be because of me or my performance, right? So I love that mentality of putting forth your best effort. And honestly, Stuart, when it comes to Thunderbolts, he's right in regards to Jack Schreier, especially as a writer and director. I think just does things interesting with his movies, or even television show. For instance, I believe Thunderbolts also brought on, let me see here. I just want to make sure I have his name right. Thunderbolts movie writer. Because I do think Jack Schreier is one writer, but they also brought in another writer by the name of Lee Sung Jin. And the reason why I bring him up is if you guys have not watched this Netflix series by the name of Beef, Beef, that's right, Beef. It has Stephen Wynn or Stephen Yoon, I believe, from Invincible, from Walking Dead. Incredible series, where we have Jack Schreier and Lee Sung Jin teaming up as director and writer on the entire series. And I got to tell you, Stuart, Beef was an incredible series. It took me on a roller coaster ride that I didn't know. I was like, what the hell is this show even supposed to be? They really had a couple of episodes, especially towards the end, that almost went, I don't even know how to describe it, but it felt like I was watching some sort of action thriller. And the series didn't even start out that way, but it just shows me the level of competency, the level of creativity, and just how different Jack Schreier and Lee Sung Jin together can really make a fabulous plot. A great attention to details to characters with some really emotional depth and oomph, but also really just surprise you in regards to the different layers that are there, the action that they can certainly put together. It got to a point to where I was watching this show and I was already loving it for what it was, and by like the the penultimate episode leading into the season finale, it just turned into like some John Wick espionage action thriller. And I'm like, what am I watching? But it was like just the coolest thing I've ever seen. The fact that they were capable of doing that in this series just really blew me away. So, when Wyatt Russell mentioned something along the lines of, yeah, Jack Schreier, I'm confident it's going to be good. They do things different. This is not going to be your straightforward Marvel movie. I have every reason to believe this guy, and I think bringing somebody like Jack Schreier in, and again, Lee Sung Jin, both writers from the Beef series, they know how to handle a big ensemble group. I think we're going to get some really great intimate moments between these characters that just add depth to them, and hopefully add some really, really big stakes to this movie. So, for me, Wyatt Russell is saying everything that I need to know in regards to getting me even more interested in something like Thunderbolts. So, again, for those of you who are sort of like on the fence, should I care about Thunderbolts? Why should I care about this movie? I would also highlight, if you have a minute, go back and check out some of Jack Schreier's work. Go back and check out some of Lee Sung Jin's work. And if you have time, at least check out Beef for yourself. And when you finish that series, let me know if it's piqued your interest a little bit more in Thunderbolts, because I do believe that it certainly will. But that's just my thoughts in regards to what Wyatt Russell's talking about here, Stuart. But when you hear him say it's not a straightforward Marvel movie, does this give you hope? What are you hoping to see out of this? Let me know your thoughts.
Um, yeah, so I guess nothing he's really said really kind of sticks out because it just kind of sounds like what you'll hear most actors say for an upcoming movie. I do appreciate
Absolutely.
how he was honest about it though, saying that he's going to give it his top performance, which I look forward to because he is a great actor. I loved him in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I really look forward to, because I haven't watched an episode yet, but I am eventually going to get around to Monarch, another show that he's in that I hear he
Yes.
does a really good job in.
Mhm.
But while you were talking about Beef, I was looking up Lee Sung Jin's IMDb, and this kind of gets me curious about both the show and this movie because I'm looking at his IMDb, and a lot of stuff that he's worked on, it's all sitcoms. So it is kind of
Mm.
interesting that he's a sitcom writer, and most of these are sitcoms that I actually like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and Tuca and Birdie, both like absolutely hilarious shows. Um, but like I'm very curious what it is about his writing that made Marvel go, all right, this will be the perfect person to write for the Thunderbolts, an action, spy espionage film. So I feel like if I watch Beef, I might have a better understanding of it. But that is kind of fascinating to me so far.
And it is interesting that you bring that up because I do feel like Marvel has really been getting a lot of their content creators and writers and directors lately from television. It almost
Mhm.
feels like they had such a big success with people like the Russos that I think came over from television, and they really made it big in the MCU and establishing some incredible films. So maybe they're like, hey, maybe we can find some really good gems, those that write television, but given the support and the budget, maybe the opportunity to go ahead and make something a little bit bigger and better. So that is interesting to me because when I even look at something like a Beef on Netflix, it doesn't feel sitcom-y to me at all. So that's pretty interesting. That's where most of his writing history comes from. But yeah, I would recommend checking out that series for sure to get an idea because it is one of those things again where I think it was like the second to last episode. I'm like, what is this? But the action is incredible. You feel the intensity. The stakes feel high, and I'm like, I don't know what this show has turned into, but holy cow, does this work for me? So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm kind of interested to see what this turns out to be.
Awesome. But yeah, overall, my hype level for this movie, I wouldn't say it's through the roof, but I'm definitely, intrigued enough to check it out when it comes out.
Most definitely, fair enough for sure. My sarcastic says a gritty Netflix style Ghost Rider show would be next level. That would totally. I'm still waiting for a Ghost Rider something, man. Poor Gabriel Luna. Was it Gabriel Luna? Who was supposed to be Ghost Rider? Was supposed to get his own series, I believe, from years ago, right after his Agents of Shield time. I thought he was set to get another spin-off series or something like that.
Yeah, he was supposed to, because like Hulu was going to be doing a bunch of like kind of horror themed Marvel shows. They started with what was that one called? Hellstorm, I think.
Yeah, I believe it
Yeah,
was supposed to be part of like a group of that type of stuff.
yeah, but then like I guess once Kevin Feige was kind of promoted to be like the head of Marvel, he wanted to kind of have like a clean slate with all the Marvel television shows, and so basically Hellstorm was the only one of those that got produced, and the other ones that they were planning, they ended up just axing them.
Yeah, I believe Hellstrom, I think, only got like one season on Hulu as well. So yeah, you might be able to still find it on Hulu if you're interested. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. Have you checked out Beef? Do you know Jack Schreier and Lee Sung Jin's work? Do they give you any confidence about Thunderbolts? Or at least what do Wyatt Russell's comments make you feel about Thunderbolts, certainly going forward? Let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below. All right, Stuart. And with that out of the way, let's change course a little bit. We've been pretty heavy when it comes to talking about the comic book genre a little bit. Let's get back to more mainstream movie and television stuff. As one of the big franchises, Alien is back in the news. Good old Ridley Scott's Alien getting much attention as it feels like we are creating content on multiple levels now. We got an Alien television series coming to us from Noah Hawley, most notably known for his time on the Fargo television series. And we also have an Alien movie coming out called Alien Romulus. And so I wanted to go ahead and take this time to go ahead and really talk about updates for both of these, Stuart, which I think are pretty important and impactful going forward. The first one set to be that it looks as though Timothy Oliphant is set to go ahead and join the upcoming FX series for Alien. Let me go ahead and bring this up here. I believe this is coming to us from deadline.com, if I'm not mistaken. So it does say here that this is an exclusive for them. Timothy Oliphant is reuniting with Noah Hawley and FX, signing on for a major role in the upcoming Alien series. Oliphant, who reoccurred in season 4 of Hawley's anthology series Fargo, is set to star opposite Sidney Chandler in Hawley's prequel to the Alien franchise. Details about Oliphant's character are not being disclosed. I hear he plays Kirsch, who is a synth who acts as a mentor and trainer for Chandler's Wendy, who is a hybrid, a metahuman who has the brain and consciousness of a child, but the body of an adult. So it looks as though Oliphant may be playing the character Kirsch, a synth who acts as a mentor and trainer. Um, so yeah, they got it. Says in addition to Chandler, Oliphant joins the main cast. Deadline did report earlier Alex Lawthorne as a soldier named CJ, Samuel Blinken as Boy Cavalier, and CEO, or a CEO, I should say, as well as Essie Davis as Dame Sylvia. So they definitely have a huge cast already put together. Executive produced by Ridley Scott, the new Alien series is set in a time period before Sigourney Weaver's Ripley and is the first story in the franchise that takes place on Earth roughly 70 years in the future. So we're going to be having a little bit more of a grounded Aliens here, as this one does in fact take place on Earth. Any thoughts on Timothy Oliphant as an actor or him joining, Stuart?
Honestly, I was excited for all of that until you mentioned it taking place on Earth, and now I'm still looking forward to it. I'm just like not as excited because when they're on Earth, when they're in kind of a safer environment, it becomes harder for me to like be scared. Like in the Alien movies where they're literally as far away from home as possible, which just adds to the
Mm,
intensity.
mhm.
If they're on Earth, that intensity is kind of taken away. But I also don't know what type of show this is trying to be, so it may not even be trying to be a horror TV show or anything like that. And I mean, it's not like you can't have horror movies that take place on Earth. I'd say a majority of them probably do take place on Earth. So, yeah, just I'm curious. Yeah.
Yeah, I am kind of curious too. So it takes place as a prequel. It's before the movies. So yeah, it does feel like this may not necessarily be like a horror television show. Maybe more like in a very intense thriller sort of thing, which I would be open to. There's no real rule that says every alien movie's got to be in space alone, running away from an alien type of character. But I do think Noah Hawley is certainly smart enough to certainly make a very compelling and thrilling show, especially when you have a synth involved. You've got a meta-human sort of involved. Also, we're definitely going to have that scientific aspect of aliens that I'm always been a big fan of. So we'll see how this turns out. Maybe we get some corruption, some things behind the scenes that really maybe shines light on the bigger scope of the future of the Alien franchise that we've seen in the movies. So I'm never opposed to a good backstory if it adds to building up the franchise a little bit more. So we'll see how that goes. But you can't go wrong with Timothy Oliphant. Anytime you get some great talent involved, I think it's a win. So really great addition. And the fact that they've worked together, I think, certainly helps. So he'll definitely get the best out of Timothy. That's the television series. On the movie side of things, though, we do have actress Kaylee Spaney, I believe is her name, coming out and talking about the upcoming Alien Romulus movie. Now, what I find fascinating about Romulus, Stuart, is I believe the writer and director of this movie said that he had to show this movie to Ridley Scott, and he was talking about how incredibly nervous he was because Ridley Scott just does not like anything.
Mhm.
And so he said he went into the screening just expecting Ridley Scott to just rip him apart since Alien is his baby. It's, Ridley Scott's franchise. So the idea of having some other hands on it, he just immediately assumed that Scott was going to hate it. But Scott gave him back some feedback and said he absolutely loved it. So I think that's a huge win, a huge confidence booster for Alien Romulus. And we've got a little bit more detail in regards to it coming from the star Kaylee Spaney. This is what she says in regards to it. So this is from Variety.com. She says it's supposed to slot in between the first movie and the second movie. She says they brought the same team from Aliens, the James Cameron film. She says the same people who built those xenomorphs actually came on and built ours. So getting to see the original design with the original people who have been working on this film for 45 plus years has been so much of their life has been really incredible. It says Ridley Scott's original 79 horror film concluded. I think we know all that, yada, yada, yada. She says, my first film was big budget sci-fi. Spaney continues, referring to her role in the kaiju sequel Pacific Rim Uprising. I feel like I'm going back to that world, and I have so much fun. I like trying to do so many different things as I can. I swapped my high heels and my beehive for spacesuits and lots of wire work. I love watching those old 70s, 80s action sci-fi films, and I'm such a fan of the IP and Sigourney Weaver. It's legendary to be a part of it. So yeah, she talks a little bit about the idea that the same team that did the Aliens film is back. And that this film is set to go ahead and be between the first movie and the second film as well, Stuart. So look, I know you mentioned the idea, Stuart, in the previous one that it's taking place on Earth. It maybe bummed you out a little bit. This one feels like we're definitely going back to our horror roots a little bit more. Definitely going to get some xenomorphs. How do you feel about this revelation here?
This is exciting, especially hearing that they got the team from the James Cameron Aliens movies coming in to redo the Aliens. That is awesome. With Prometheus and what was the Alien movie that came afterwards? Alien Covenant, I think. Not saying the aliens looked bad in it, but just I don't know. CG aliens are not as scary as puppet aliens. The puppet aliens that they had in Aliens were terrifying. And if we're bringing those back into this, oh my gosh, I am 110% on board. Yeah, this one I'm actually going to with excitement, whereas the show, I'm just kind of, very neutral on. This, though, yeah, everything about it sounds like it's going to be great. It seems like it's actually just going to be taking place on the planet that they're on in the second movie, but before it becomes like a huge wasteland. So it makes me kind of wonder if like the main plot is actually going to be protecting some little girl who turns out to be Newt at the very end.
Ooh, that would be actually pretty cool, man. I actually would kind of dig that. I am curious as to it does say whether Alien Romulus specifically relates to Ripley or the events of those first two entries remain uncertain.
Or maybe
Um,
it takes place in the Star Trek universe, so they're referring to Romulans.
I will say, I look, right now, the Alien franchise, I probably haven't cared about it as much as I do right now. I do think that there's a lot of great energy and anticipation behind more Alien content. So I am really pumped to kind of see what this is going to be. I am fascinated too as to whether or not is this going to be connected to Ripley's story at all? Are there things that are going to be taking place in this movie that allows us to view aliens significantly different? Are there things that are established in this particular movie that then are payoffs for Ripley down the line, sort of thing? Or is this going to be as sort of completely disconnected from that, but just in that particular time period? That does definitely fascinate me for sure. And I think the fresher that you can get, the more original with their content for aliens, I think that just allows them to continue this franchise on a little bit stronger. Very similar to what Prey did, I think, for the Predator franchise in regards to reinvigorating it. I feel like the Alien television series and Alien Romulus might be that for the Alien franchises. That movie was certainly for Predator also. So I do think that they're making some really great moves. And shout out to Blossom again with the super chat coming through. I hope we're not taking your whole paycheck, Blossom, but thank you so much for the continued support. Holy macaroni, Manoli. That predator thing is creepy. That predator thing is an alien, but yes, super creepy. It's considered a xenomorph if we want to get really nerdy with it. But I recommend checking out some past alien movies if you have not. Blossom for sure. But yeah, they're as creepy as they absolutely come. I've loved the design for these creatures, and they've been a staple in sci-fi horror for years. But yeah, man, I think the momentum is certainly shifting for the Alien franchise for sure.
Since Predator has been brought up twice now, I just want to say if they ever do a third Alien versus Predator movie, I would actually be down for it, but they have to subtitle it "Third Time's the Charm" and just straight up acknowledge the fact that the other two were absolute garbage.
Third time's the charm. I love it. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. Are you a fan of the Alien franchise? What are your thoughts on the idea of a TV series and a movie both being produced? Not connected, but definitely a part of this Alien franchise. Definitely go ahead and let us know your thoughts down below.
Oh, and no worries, because they have like the crossover movies, and that's probably where the confusion comes in. Basically the Alien versus Predator movies.
Oh yeah, pretty much. I'm pretty sure I have not watched a lot of the Alien versus Predator films. I think for me, I immediately just disregarded them because I don't know. I just had this feeling that they were just going to be absolute crap,
Oh,
and I
you're
don't know
right.
if and I, and at that time I don't necessarily know if I was like a Predator Alien junkie. I had just known they had a pretty bad stretch of films at that time, so I didn't really care for them. But they really got me back on board with like the Prometheus stuff. And then Prey here recently for Predator has definitely opened my eyes once again. I didn't think Predators was too bad. That's actually another fun one for me.
The one where they're on the alien world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. I never bothered seeing the one between that one and Prey. I think it was just
Yeah, I
called
didn't see
The
that one.
Predator. That one
Mhm.
looked really bad.
And that one came out pretty recently too, right? Like within last 5 years, I think. Right? Like
Yeah,
5 or 6 years.
5 or
But yeah,
6 years ago.
I didn't see that one either, unfortunately. But I was kind of excited. I think it was by Shane Black too, I think, from the guy that did the Iron Man movies towards the end. I believe that's who was the director and writer of that last Predator movie, The Predator, but I could be wrong. But yeah, guys, let us know your levels of enthusiasm for the Alien franchise going forward. And with that, Stuart, let's move on to our next topic. We got two more topics for you guys today. This one I think should be really fun for us to explore. As remember, CCXP was this week. I don't even know if they have more announcements that are dropping as of today. I might have you see if there's any sort of breaking news real quick, Stuart, while I introduce this story. But at CCXP, one of the projects that I think a lot of us were surprised to see was the upcoming video game live action adaptation for none other than Fallout. This is going to be a brand new TV series set on Prime Video, set to drop April 12th. This past week, they actually revealed a couple of brand new posters as you get the opportunity to kind of see the world that we're going to be taking place in when it comes to Fallout, another post apocalyptic world, if you will. I believe in the trailer, you get to see the nuclear breakout that certainly happens. And those that survived, looks like they went into a vault 219 years later. Some of them are certainly coming out, and there's definitely a lot that has happened in the vaults and outside of the vaults when it comes to this particular post apocalyptic world. Now, to be fair, Stuart, when it comes to Fallout, it is not a game that I have personally played.
Ooh.
I have seen a bunch of people and watched a bunch of people play hours of this game, but I personally have not played it myself. Quick story, if you don't mind. Years ago, when Fallout 3 wind up being released, I had a girlfriend. I was living in Florida at the time. Her dad was a big gamer too, and he purchased he purchased Fallout 3. And I would tell you, man, I would spend hours sitting on the couch watching this man play this game. And it would just frustrate me so much, Stuart, because this man would literally like play the first portion of this game in the vault. You know, he would do all his searching, playing, and stuff. And then when it would get time to leave the vault, I don't know how many hours this man played this game, but when it came time to leave the vault, he always felt unprepared. And for some reason, he literally would start the game over again.
Oh,
And
that's like the point.
I literally, dude, I literally watched this man start Fallout 3 over like 3 times before he actually started exploring the world itself. And it just frustrated me to no end. I just wanted to take the controller from him. It's like, no, we're just gonna go outside. Okay, we're just gonna go outside finally. Um, but it looked like it's one hell of a story, one hell of a world. They wind up dropping the trailer here this week. Did you have the opportunity to check it out for yourself, Stuart?
I did. No Liam Neeson, so 0 out of 10 for me.
I'm sure you probably have played your fair share of Fallout. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. I'm not quite sure. But
Yeah.
after seeing this trailer, how do you feel about it?
Played the hell out of Fallout 3, and a lot of it's I don't think I played all the DLC for Fallout 3, but I definitely played, like, the game all the way through. So much fun, such a great game. I really just love like feeling like my own, I feel like all of us deep down, we don't want to admit it. We all have that fantasy of like living in the apocalyptic world on our own,
Yeah,
right?
how would we
It's
survive? Could we survive it?
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what I love about Fallout 3 is it gives me like my own like kind of fantasy like idea of what I would look like as a survivor, and it's so much fun. I love doing like I love that there's just as much effort put into the side missions as there are for the main missions of the game. There's always things to explore. Yeah, every if you like Skyrim, if you love those
Mhm.
type of games, it's that but in a post-apocalyptic world, and it's great. And I think that so far from what we've seen from this teaser, it doesn't give away too much, but visually, I can say that it definitely resembles a lot from the Fallout video games. From the fact that, like, inside the vault, everything's so colorful, so clean looking, and very colorful. And that's kind of what I always loved about the first Fallout game is that, while, yeah, there are a lot of gray walls and everything, there is definitely that sense that you're kind of trapped down there. You don't get to leave.
Mhm.
There is still that security feeling that you have. So now, when you start the game, you basically lose the walls, but that security you had before is now gone. So it's like, how do you adjust to this new world that you're stepping into? And that's what I hope we get to see from our new main character, someone who has spent her whole life living in the vault, and now she has to go out into this world, she has to learn what it is that's because of course everything's covered in radiation now. So trying to figure out where you can go that's safe, where you can't, who you can trust, who you can't, things like that. And then overall, the kind of person this main character will be, because in Fallout, there's not really a right or a wrong way to play it. You can be, a psychopathic murderer who just like,
Good point.
takes up, job like a mercenary who takes up jobs killing, or you can literally save everyone by like making, by basically taking out the radiation and all of the water supply. You can be like the hero. So I'm curious to see what kind of journey this character will go on, if she takes like the good route or the evil route.
I think that's a great point that you put up about the idea that when you get out of the vault, you can really be anything that you want to be. So the idea of us just assuming that she's just going to be this hero, this protagonist, could certainly be wrong. Who certainly knows? I have loved a lot of the images that have come out of this trailer as well. I love the feel of this post-apocalyptic world. We even get to see some pretty gnarly creature designs in the trailer as well that I certainly wasn't expecting in the first trailer. But it looks great, and I would agree with you. There's like a creepy, happy vibe to being in the vault. Like it feels like you feel trapped, and you see all these smiley faces and all these like interesting like throwback posters and art design. There's just something really creepy about the whole vibe of
Mhm.
being in the vault at that point. So to see them eventually get out, visually it looks stunning. Like to me, it looks like we are taking this plot and this concept of this story extremely serious. I love seeing the nuclear explosions towards the end of the trailer. There's a great character. There's a great shot of there of one of the characters on horseback, like picking up a little girl, and he jumps on, like they're trying to get out of the wave of destruction. And as you look in the background, you can see like just towers and buildings collapsing and stuff, right? So there's a great gravitas to this trailer, and it's just this idea of exploring this whole new world after all these years. So I kind of dig that idea of like what's outside the vault that you haven't seen, especially if a character like her seemingly being born and raised sort of to just know only this her entire life. So it should be pretty fun to kind of see how that gets further explored. But there's a great article out there, guys. One that I highly would recommend that you check out. It's from Vanity Fair. It's a Fallout first look. I want to go ahead and read some of it for you guys, and just kind of break down our thoughts on it, hear your thoughts on it, Stuart, as we go through some quotes from her, and learn a little bit more details about this series itself. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but again, if you want to check it out, this is an article from Vanity Fair called Fallout First Look. This is how the world ends with a smiling thumbs up. We got some great Vanity Fair sort of first looks as well. Some of these you might remember from the trailer itself. But let's just go through this for a little bit, Stuart. Just talk about this. It says Fallout often looks like the distant past, but it's really the far off future. And actually, it's the end of life as we know it. In the new series debuting on Prime Video on April 12th, a nuclear war breaks out across Earth in the year 2077, which is an era of robots, hover cars, and a deep and abiding nostalgia for the America of the 40s. Everything from the clothes to the entertainment to the vehicles mimic the look of that bygone age, albeit with the sci-fi tilt. That retro futuristic aesthetic was one of the charms of the mega selling video game series that inspired the show. And that's pretty fascinating to me alone, just the aesthetics of it, Stuart, in the sense of, they always say what's old becomes new again, right? Like we tend to recycle sort of cultures and clothing and things like that. So the idea of a year of 2077 for some reason having now gone back to the 1940s and its aesthetics and design is extremely believable to me, and one that I am kind of fascinated in. It also says mass extinction is just the starting point for Fallout, which was developed by TV by the Westworld creators Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy. After in the incendiary mushroom clouds, the story flashes forward 219 years. How did humanity fare over the blighted 2 centuries? Lucy, one of the lead characters, has no clue. She has lived her entire life inside the subterranean vault where every need and want has been satisfied with, while generations and generations wait the day when it is safe to surface. So again, this coming to us from the minds of Westworld creators, and you get a sense of what Lucy is certainly dealing with underground there. How do you feel about the idea of Westworld creators taking this over?
Mixed, and I say that because I absolutely loved Westworld season 1, but when it came to Westworld season 2 and 3, and I'm sure they were doing this from the beginning during season 1, but to me season 2 and 3 is where you really started to notice that they just were writing as they went along. It kind of reminded me all the aspects of the TV show Lost that I didn't like. So I feel like if it goes kind of that route, if it goes the route of Lost and Westworld, we're in for a really amazing pilot, a good first season, and then it all goes downhill from there. So that's where my speculation is at, and I say that because that's how I feel about both Westworld and Lost.
Yeah, I think I watched some of Westworld season 1. I haven't watched seasons 2 or 3 or the other ones as of yet. I was a big fan personally of Lost, but I do think ABC screwed itself a little bit by demanding more seasons and forcing them to have to write more, even though they really didn't mean for that series to go as long as it did. And it feels that way for sure eventually. But I'm a big fan of Lost. I'll continue to support it till my dying day. But it says the article also says when a crisis forces Lucy to venture into a rescue mission, she finds that the planet above remains a hellscape crawling with giants, insects, mutant animal abominations, and human population of sun-baked miscreants who make the manners, morals, and hygiene of the gunslinging Old West look like Downtown Abbey. It says the games are about the culture of division and haves and have-nots, unfortunately, have only gotten more and more acute in this country and around the world over the last decade, is what Jonathan Nolan tells Vanity Fair. Lucy is nice, but Lucy is naive. In the Fallout universe, the human beings fortunate enough to ride out the apocalypse in underground communities only had that option available to them because they had money. Forcing doe-eyed Lucy out of this sadistic Darwinian remnant of civilization opens the door for Fallout to engage in some social satire as well as action and adventure. Like The Last of Us, which also has adapted from a video game, The End of the World offers a rich opportunity to comment on the real one. And I think that's pretty eye-opening and pretty stark contrast. The idea is like we have to also remember that those that are inside these vaults were certainly rich and pampered. You know what I'm saying? So that view of the world that Lucy certainly might have, definitely not the same as the one that she's about to experience. It also says we get to talk about that in a wonderful and speculative fiction way. I think we're looking for the world and going, God, things seem to be headed in a very, very frightening direction. And ain't that the truth, Stuart?
Um,
It also says so many of us have such naive ideas, even now, about everyone's life experiences. And it's one of the things that I love about America. It's this giant maniac collection of different experiences, different points of view, Nolan says. Desperation only exacerbates these fissures in Fallout. Lucy is charming and plucky and strong. And then you see she's confronted with the reality of, hey, maybe the supposed virtuous thing you grew up with are not necessarily that virtuous. If they are virtuous, they're couched in the circumstantial virtuousness. It's a luxury virtue. You have your point of view because you never ran out of food, right? You guys were able to share everything because you had enough to share. It says her conclusion with the hard reality of other people's experiences and what happened to the people who, frankly, were left behind and left to die. So yeah, that should be a pretty interesting sort of situation she finds herself in, right? Like the stark reality of my life was definitely vastly different from these people, and having to learn sort of those differences certainly along the way, I think is definitely going to challenge her perspective of the world and just people as she knows it. So it feels like she's lining herself up to just immediately fall victim to some of these mercenaries and these crazy ass cretins that are out there.
yeah, I'm definitely curious if she has like a very judgmental view before she goes into the world, and
Hmm.
then suddenly like actually seeing how they're all living, being like, oh wow, that was a bit harsh to some of
Yeah.
the things I had been saying before.
Um, Let me see here. What else do we have? It says we had a lot of conversations over the style of humor, the level of violence, and the style of violence. Fallout can be very dramatic and dark and post-apocalyptic, but you need to weave in a little bit of a wink. I think they threaded that really well on the television show. Um, It says Nolan enjoys determination to maintain the comedy was key to making the world work as a series, says the game maker Todd Howard, the director of the 2008's Fallout and 2015's Fallout 4, and executive producer at Bathsheba, which developed the franchise. So, first off, that's comforting to know that Todd Howard is very much connected to putting this together. Like, even though we've got the Westworld executives putting this together, it feels very much like Todd is very much involved in here. It says Vault Boy not only appears in the show, but the imagery even gets an origin story. He says that was something that we came up with. That's just really smart. He says fans of the game should know that everything in this series is officially part of Fallout lore. And Bathsheba Bethesda, was careful to make sure the scripts could coexist with previous
Oh,
storylines from gaming titles. Todd Howard says, we view what's happening in the show as canon. That's what's great when someone else looks at your work and then translates it in some fashion. He admits to being envious of some of the TV show's interpretations and additions. I sort of looked at it and was like, why didn't we do that? So it's definitely part of the Fallout lore, which I think is pretty eye opening too, Stuart.
that is something I wish more video game, not just movies, but like TV shows would do as well. Because I remember for a while it seemed like that's what they were going to be doing with the Netflix Resident Evil show. But then when it
Right.
came out, they started to, I think pretty early on, started to have quite a few contradictions to the video game lore. It was like they were both like, it was like at one point they had a rough draft that did fit into the lore of the Resident Evil video games, and then upon filming it, they just threw that all out the window. But it's good to know that here they seem to be actually wanting to stick into that canon, into that lore.
Yeah, this feels very much like it's going to be a fresh story told within the Fallout world that we already kind of know. So I really dig that. I love the fact that this is just another part of the bigger story. He says the prospect of for TV, a film or TV show has been in the ether for years, but Howard was always resistant to it. He says, I've taken countless meetings with producers or heard pitches, and nothing ever felt like the right fit. Or maybe I was wondering a little bit, how will this affect the franchise? I took a very cautious approach. He said Howard is an admirer of Interstellar, which he cites as one of the inspirations for the latest game, Starfield, a massive open world story that allows players to build their own characters and starships to explore more than 1,000 planets scattered throughout the Milky Way. He says, the movies he's worked on are some of my favorites, and I heard that he liked video games and had an eye for that stuff. I'd say to somebody, and I won't say who, but I was taking a meeting with another producer. Before I talk to other people, I want to hear Jonathan Nolan say he'll never do it. So he always had Jonathan Nolan in mind for this as well. He says they were sold when Nolan and his team proposed building an entirely new story within the existing realm of Fallout. I did not want to do an interpretation of an existing story that we did. That was the other thing. A lot of pitches were, this is the movie of Fallout 3. And I was like, yeah, we told that story. I don't have a lot of interest seeing those translated. I was interested in someone telling a unique Fallout story. Treat it like a game. It gives the creators of the series their own playground to play in. And Stuart, I think that is a brilliant move, man. I think that's a brilliant move. I think that's something that a lot of video game adaptions going forward to certainly look into, instead of it just being a reboot or a retelling of the same video game that's been played. The idea of taking the canon and the story and the timeline of what's already established and then creating your own sandbox to kind of play within it and making those pieces connect to the bigger overall story. I think that helps keep the franchise fresh, and it feels for like a really great entry point for people that maybe have not played the video game before in regards to being introduced to these new worlds and new characters. And it clearly for Todd Howard, that's what certainly struck a chord. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that the fact that was what sold him on the show, awesome. And yeah, like I said, this is something that I've wanted, different video game movies to do for a while now. I think it's something that would have worked a lot better if Sony went that direction with the Uncharted movie. And it's something I
Mm,
still want to see today with a
that's a
Mass
good
Effect
one.
movie. I would love to see, a Mass Effect First Contact War that doesn't contradict anything from the video games, but instead could fit like right into that. I love that they're doing that with Fallout 3, because Fallout 3, or Fallout in general, sorry, is a big world where there's plenty of other stories that they could easily tell that don't have to like contradict anything that happens within the events of the video game, but can like fit right into that world.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. But that'll probably I probably won't read any more of the article. If anything, I would highly recommend you guys certainly check it out. They do again have some really great sort of first look images. This is Aaron Moten as Maximus, a new squire for a power suit knight dispatched on behalf of the Brotherhood of Steel. So that's a description of what we see there.
Dang, that the outfits look so like spot on.
Yeah, they really do. They really do. Um, this is another image here. This says Ella Purnell, Lucy enters Philly, an apparent junkyard that's actually a town of survivors and the remnants of greater Los Angeles who cobbled together their village from scrap. Yeah, man, that's got
Yeah,
to be a
it looks
harsh reality.
yeah, it looks just like, I think it was called Newtown, which is the
Mm.
first one that you visit in Fallout 3.
Walton Goggins in a moment of repose as the ghoul. That's, I think we see him in a trailer a couple times also. Oh, a close-up shot of the ghoul.
Mhm.
The missing nose gives the ghoul a corpse-like appearance. He has actually survived for many centuries. Interesting. Another behind the scenes shot. So yeah, guys, check out the Vanity Fair article for the first look of Fallout whenever you get the chance. But great stuff, man. I almost forgot that this series was actually even coming together until they released the trailer, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot they were putting that together. But I think it looks great, man. So I'm definitely going to be checking it out. If you guys certainly want us to maybe review Fallout for you guys here come April, let us know in the live chat or the comment section box below. Maybe that's something that we'll introduce to the channel. Marcelino with the first off, real quick, what's up, Tony Robinson? Good to see you in here, Tony. Shout out to him for certainly coming through. He says, I'm more of a Predator. I'm more into the Predator films than Aliens. Understandable for sure. Marcelino says, having the Fallout TV show take place in the games has me concerned. This could cause inconsistencies and turn off non-gamers since they just want to watch the show and not play the game. I think for me, I get your concern. For me, the addition of Todd Howard being involved, the creator of Fallout, gives me hope. It is one of those things, Stuart, where it's like, look, I think studios and companies should be learning their lesson now, especially
Mhm.
when you see things like The Last of Us succeeding, when you're getting great content creators on their own and somebody like a Craig Mazin, and combining them with the main creator of these series that know these characters, know the stories, and allowing these two big brains to kind of like combine and put together a great work. And so I think when you've got somebody like Todd very much involved, it feels like from this article, I have a belief that they can pull it off. Visually, the trailer looks like, hey, they're really pulling it off and taking it serious. So I don't necessarily know if we have too much to worry about, but I can understand the concern for sure. Let's see here. And I think with that, Stuart, I think that'll wrap up that topic. We got one more left as well. So let's go ahead and finish this off here with our last topic. So we're going to go from the world of Fallout to back into the world, if you will, of none other than Godzilla, baby. We talked a little bit about Godzilla minus one. Again, if you have not had the opportunity to check out our review for it, there is a review up on our YouTube channel. Stuart, if I'm not mistaken, I actually graded it an A+. I gave this movie an A+. If you had to grade, I was thinking an A, but it just made the cut for me, and I decided to give it an A+. If you had to grade Godzilla minus one, though, what would you give Godzilla?
Oh, definitely an A plus. The one thing that would have made me give it an A, was really just the theater I saw it in, because it was an IMAX theater, which was great. Everything about it looked fantastic. The sound design was perfect, except for when there was no sound at all, and it wasn't the movie's fault. It was the theater speakers had a buzzing noise that you could not notice
Mm,
until it was supposed to be super silent in the movie, and then suddenly you could notice it, and it kind of killed a lot of the quieter moments in the movie.
mm.
So because of the theater I saw it in, I want to give it an A. But the movie itself, because that wasn't the fault of the movie on its own, A plus, amazing all the way through.
Was it shot in IMAX? Are there IMAX scenes in this film?
No, I don't think it was. I think yeah, I think it was all shot on a non IMAX camera.
Because I was like, the theater I showed it in, I don't even think they offered it on an IMAX screen. It was just your traditional theater screen, but it still looked great, and I thought the sound was pretty good also. But Godzilla minus one is back in the news this week because of the fact that the director has kind of come out and talked a little bit about some of his inspirations in regards to filmmaking and a little movie. I don't know if you've heard of this franchise, Star Wars, that
Hmm.
he actually might be interested in doing sometime. So I thought it'd be interesting to kind of tackle some of his comments here. So let's bring this up. This is actually from slashfilm.com. Godzilla minus one director wants to helm a Star Wars movie. And maybe Lucasfilm should listen, is what the exclusive article states here. It says, um, the film follows in the footsteps of Hideaki Anno's Shin Godzilla and reinventing the King of the Monsters, but also looks back at the very origins of the franchise. The result is a movie that gives us a human story as compelling and thrilling to watch as Godzilla wreaking havoc. This is a monster that is utterly terrifying and one with an upgraded power move that is closer to the imagery of nuclear Armageddon than anything in this 70 years franchise. Yeah, just pretty frightening, Stuart. I'm not gonna lie. Like when he was powering up, I'm just thinking to myself, my God, please get out of the way, people. Like I felt something for anybody in the path of his destruction for sure. It says here, speaking with Slash Film ahead of the US release, the director Yamazaki immediately knew what he'd like to tackle next. He said, I watched Star Wars, and that's how I ended up being a filmmaker. I'm really hoping I will get a call and they will bring me on Star Wars. He's not even mincing any words here. He knows immediately what he wants to create. He says, now, if the people at Lucasfilm have any common sense, they'd listen to Yamazaki. He says, hear the man out. It says, for one, having someone like Takashi Yamazaki helm a Star Wars project would mean bringing in someone with experience in visual effects as well as writing and directing. This could be a refreshing change to the underwhelming visuals of the past few Star Wars films and movies, as Yamazaki works as a visual effects supervisor on his own projects. Then rather than continue the trend of grabbing untested indie directors and giving them a production much bigger than they can handle, how about grabbing a tested director who knows how to reinvent known properties while also handling heavy VFX? It says, look what he did with the small budget on Godzilla minus one, and imagine what he can do with Lucasfilm money. So some pretty interesting insights in here. But I do think they might be onto something in regards to somebody that's capable of doing all three of those jobs. I mean, that might be a little bit of a tall task for somebody coming into their first Star Wars movie, but he's clearly more than capable of doing writing and directing. And I think somebody with a visual effects background just helps in regards to bringing forth the true vision that he really has, that how he wants to see a film. So, Stuart, let me ask you this, man. You've had the opportunity to check out Godzilla minus one. I feel like a lot of filmmakers would love to make a Star Wars movie anyway. How do you feel about the idea of him wanting to make a Star Wars movie? Again, Lucasfilm has not reached out. Should they, though?
I would want to hear what his pitch is. I do think this guy has what it takes to make a good Star Wars movie. The big thing that he nailed, absolutely nailed in Godzilla minus one was definitely getting the emotional aspect of us really wanting to get behind the main characters, really wanting them to succeed, not just because they're in a situation that sucks, but because we got to know them as characters, before, all the destruction, all the devastation with Godzilla, like kind of comes into play. So we see the kind of people they are. We really want them to succeed even more because of it, and because of the way he had like us as an audience like rallying behind the main characters the way we were. I think that'd be perfect. That's exactly what the Star Wars franchise needs. It needs a movie where kind of similar to the way they did it with Andor. They need a movie where we not only hate the Empire the way we do in the show Andor, but we really want to get behind the characters the same way we are in Godzilla minus one. So if we can get like the Empire looking as terrifying as they did in Andor, which I think based on how this guy did Godzilla, he could definitely pull that off. And we could just mix that with like kind of, characters that, are heroes, so kind of like your traditional characters from all the other Star Wars movies. I think we get something very unique here. I say unique, even though literally I just described, every Star Wars movie, or what every Star Wars movie tries to do, I should say. But looking at the Empire and the way they've been done in most Star Wars movies, they're rarely scary. We rarely get to see them as like as anything more than a punching bag for the good guys. So it would be nice to have a Star Wars movie again where the Empire can once again be a scary threat and not just something that we know our main characters are going to overcome. I want us to, like, as an audience, wonder if our main characters are going to survive this.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you mean. And there is a vibe in this movie too, that I totally agree when you said, you really get behind the main characters, and especially the supporting characters. Like when we're leading into the climactic battle here at the end of minus one, like you've seen everybody's story kind of come to a culmination. And it's like, how is this going to end? Who's going to survive? Who's not? You feel the stakes already immediately involved. And when they're getting prepped, one of the things I said in my review, Stuart, was like, the Godzilla theme has never hit so hard in my life. And when they have the ships ready towards the end and they start on their mission and the theme hits, like the plan is about to take place, I just find myself bopping my head a little bit like, okay, okay. And I'm looking around and I see other people bopping their head. Like, not to say that this is like a trap beat Godzilla theme or anything like that, but I just mean like the anticipation, right? Like they have done a great job of just building the anticipation to the climactic battle where everything almost needs to go right for this to work, right? And so you don't know what the final outcome is going to be, but as a director and as a writer, to be able to capture us as viewers, to make us feel that way about a movie, I think says everything. And you go back and you mention the idea of the Empire, right? When I think of the idea of him possibly doing a Star Wars film, I don't know why I get the feeling of New Hope vibes. And I mean that in the sense of the characters are the focus. The Empire is this evil bad guy, right? Similar to how in this movie there's pushback against sort of like the Japanese government for like not taking care of its people, leaving them to sort of be the ones to have to face this sort of thing, right? And they talk about the idea of not preparing our planes properly or really just using us as like these pawns in this overall bigger scheme. I think that's really impactful when it comes to just your audience members having to sort of relate to some of these characters. And when you feel like all the odds are against you, I think this guy as the writer and director is really able to capture that and put that on set so you have all the emotions behind it. You're building intricate moments in this movie to build upon that character to really set them up for success or failure by the end of this movie. And instead of Godzilla being sort of that main focus, they do a really cool job of allowing Godzilla to kind of be like this analogy for the terrible circumstances and situations that our characters find themselves in, and that ability to overcome things to finally sort of take care of the problem at the end of the movie. I just think it's I think that sort of mentality would fit extremely well for something like a Star Wars movie. And you're right, Stuart, right? Like saying it out loud, it's like that's a Star Wars movie. But yet at the end of the day, it's like it maybe they just haven't quite, well, I can't say that's what a Star Wars movie is because I do think Star Wars can be anything. But
Mhm.
as far as it recapturing that feeling that we felt when we first jumped on board of something like A New Hope, I think he could probably bring something back to this bigger scope of a universe to make it feel smaller yet extremely impactful. And just visually, just looking at sort of the battle that we wind up getting towards Godzilla at the end, or even if it's just Godzilla taking out some of the ships, I can easily see him having a great flair and an eye for what he wants to see sort of in a space battle, especially with the kamikaze pilot at the end flying around and trying to dodge. Like all of those are really great visuals for like a a dogfight in space sort of thing. And so I do think that he's got a lot on his, I think he's got a lot behind him to prove why he should certainly take up a Star Wars film. My only concern, Stuart, my
Mhm.
only concern is Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
And that's the sense of, are you gonna let this man tell the story that he wants to tell? Or are you gonna get your hands involved and give him a story that you want him to tell? And I think if they take a step back, allow this man to just pitch them an idea and allow him to create, I do think he could do something really, really cool, man. I was just that impressed with him when it comes to Godzilla minus one. So we'll see. But that would be my only concern, Stuart. Do you have any concerns though?
Oh no, not like besides the one that you brought up, not really. One thing I also forgot to mention when comparing Godzilla minus one to Star Wars, specifically Star Wars: New Hope. One things that works so well about it is that George Lucas clearly, was a huge cinema fan when he grew up. Got to be one of the earlier examples of going to a good type of
Mhm.
film school, because back then film schools were still trying to figure out like their footing, like, or how you teach basically film literature to people. So George Lucas was one of the first that like got to go to an actual good film school, and so because of that, he got to watch basically a lot of foreign films that really got him, wanting to work on a movie like Star Wars. So basically, a lot of the inspiration from Star Wars came from a lot of samurai movies from Akira Kurosawa, and then of course a lot of Western movies as well. Basically, and then of course sci-fi serials like Flash Gordon and Metropolis. And what works so well is that he knew exactly what elements to take from all these different stories that he liked and how to combine all of them into one really solid movie. And that was the vibe I got from Godzilla minus one, because when I watched Godzilla minus one, I saw so many elements from so many other movies that worked really well.
Mhm.
It was like a mixture of Dunkirk, a mixture of Grave of the
Yes.
Fireflies at the very beginning. And then, of course, come on, you can't tell me you didn't get Jaws vibes from watching this
Oh
movie,
yes.
especially
Yes.
during that scene where it's like all of them on the boat. I mean, heck, from the moment he gets introduced to the crew, immediately I'm like, huh, anyone else feeling Jaws right now? And then when he, of course, explodes the bomb in Godzilla's mouth, immediately the line in my mind went which is "Smile, you son of a bitch."
Yes. Yeah, man. Some great callbacks. So you can see that he clearly is, a fan of cinema and film, and he definitely has done his work for sure to bring something like Godzilla minus one to life. So yeah, again, my only concern would simply be the idea of Lucasfilm. It's one of those things. Like, I hope that they don't make an announcement next week, like, "Hey, we're bringing them on board to do a Star Wars film," and they've got no idea what they want to do. Like, I hope that they figure it out first before
Mhm.
making an announcement. But we'll see if this guy gets the opportunity. But he should definitely be on their list of up and coming directors and writers to uh, pay attention to. And I don't even know what his past work is like. So I don't even know how many movies he's got under his belt, how well entranced in like Japanese filmmaking he's been. This is the first film I've seen him actually do. So we'll see though. But if there's anybody capable of making a Star Wars movie, I do think um Yamazaki has definitely proven himself. So we'll see. We'll see if he ever gets that opportunity. Datila, speaking of Godzilla, Datila just says, "Did you see the trailer for Godzilla X Kong? The new Empire just dropped."
I got it
Um,
queued up right now.
oh, do you? Okay. Like in the share?
Huh? Oh, no. I just got it queued up on my phone to watch later. I can
Oh,
let me
I'm
bring it
about to
up.
play it right now. I'm
Oh,
about to play
yeah,
this
do it.
right now.
Do it.
We might get monetized for this, but again, we're just promoting. We're just doing a reaction. I may pause it in between just to get a brief moments here and there. So I apologize if I pause a lot. Just trying to avoid any sort of copyright from them trying to take. Let me see. Okay, this is Kong. All right, this looks like it might be it 6 hours ago. Warner Brothers Pictures. Yeah, this looks like this is probably it. By the way, I don't have YouTube Prime, so if an ad pops up, I apologize. Just to give everybody a heads up.
Hate it when we get ads in front of a trailer. It's like we're already watching an ad.
You're already watching it. Hopefully the volume is okay.
For most of human civilization, we believed that life could only exist on the surface of our planet.
What the fuck?
What else were we wrong about?
Wait. First off, don't tell me my man's got like an exoskeleton suit already. Like King Kong, what you been building down there in Hollow Earth, man? What you been building?
Giving King Kong a mech suit so he can go toe to toe with Godzilla this time. Because
Yo.
like, okay, so like Godzilla versus Kong, I didn't dislike it. Like I had fun with it, but it's one of those movies where like when you actually think about it for even more than a second, you realize, man, this is like one of the dumbest movies like I think to ever have been written. I did appreciate the fights, but like I really hope for this one they're actually putting in more effort into the story because oh my gosh, the other one is like just so poorly written.
Yeah, I haven't seen it again since I saw it in theaters. But clearly they're still talking about Hollow Earth here. We thought this was only just on the surface of the planet, but clearly something else is underneath it. I even dug the scratching of the needle as part of the soundtrack. That was pretty dope. Let's see what else we got. Oh, that's a cool shot.
Won't you come on in?
This world has more secrets than we could possibly imagine.
Oh, she's in this? Okay.
Still now and then.
Is that Queen Kong or Son of Kong?
Yeah, that's interesting, right? Like, is that the same Kong that we knew before or another Kong underground? I'm interested. I've been seeing some of the promotional posters that they have, and they've been highlighting Scar, I believe, Scar Kong or something like that. But I'm curious who that kiddo is for sure.
What is that?
That's not Kong. What could have done this?
Kong can't stop this on his own.
He won't be alone.
Oh, they're going purple now? Nice, bro.
Woo!
That's Scar, boy. Hold on. Look at that. That's definitely Scar for sure. Yo, first off, I'm just gonna say this franchise is just taking off into something else completely different. Like
Yeah.
this feels very much like Fast and the Furious after like the 4th or 5th film, where they're like, we gotta take this up a notch. Because we're really getting into some supernatural like entity stuff. I mean, glowing rocks and a whole Planet of the Apes civilization underground now. Is there a new ruler here? Is this like Kong stumbling upon a brand new empire of these apes that are kind of thriving? Looks like we're gonna have ourselves a tag team matchup here. Let's finish this off. We got like 40 seconds left. Here we go. That's so
Welcome to my world.
Godzilla and Kong running from something?
Are they running from something or to something?
Can't tell.
Yeah, I can't tell.
Welcome to my world.
Is that a mini Kong?
God, Stuart, look. You know, I think again, just a trailer. I think we've jumped a shark here, man.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it just hits different to me because we just finished talking about Godzilla minus one, which is like a completely different Godzilla film from what this is. But to be fair to the MonsterVerse, I mean, they have really built up this MonsterVerse, especially when we get to something like Godzilla versus Kong. But now this feels very much like a new chapter. And it's kind of like embracing everything that Godzilla versus Kong was, with the hollow world, the Mecha Godzilla robotics and stuff. And really I'm kind of curious as to how much more in the future this is compared to where the last movie left us off at. Because I mean, now we got Kong with like his Infinity Gauntlet and running around and stuff at the end of this. We got Godzilla with like purplish pink sort of fire instead of the traditional blue. It makes me wonder, like, what's happened? Has he metaphored? Is there a metamorphosis that's happening to him? Is he now a woman sort of thing? Is that why we're changing the colors thing? I have no idea what's going on. I mean, visually it looks pretty stunning. Like the effects look pretty good to me. Scar looked pretty good, but I am sitting here thinking to myself, like, what's going on? Are we doing too much here? Again, this is just a teaser trailer, or official trailer, I should say. What are some of your immediate thoughts, though?
I think one problem with introducing an entire society of giant apes like Kong is that it now makes King Kong himself less unique. I know that they're probably going to have like the big thing be like, oh, now King Kong rules over all these giant apes, so he's, justifying the name King Kong basically. But regardless, just him not being the last of his species, that was always what made Kong such a cool character. He's like one of the very last of his kind, and that's what makes him like, the thing that everyone fears. If he's just part of another species, then he's just a part of a species that everyone fears, on Skull Island and that kind of stuff. So it's, again, it takes away the uniqueness to me from King Kong. But again, like you said, it's a trailer, so maybe there's more in the movie that'll like kind of turn my opinion around on this. But as of now, I think I'd be looking forward to this more if we didn't have Godzilla -1 and that whole like franchise that's going to be spinning from there. I think I'm more excited for that than I am here. I feel like once we had Godzilla versus Kong, I was kind of satisfied with the American Godzilla giant monster movies. I'm like, okay, we've kind of ended it here. The only reason I would have wanted a sequel is if they were going to kind of tweak the writing basically if they wanted to make a sequel that focused a lot more on storytelling than giant monster battles, but clearly that's not what they're doing here. Because again, like I said, the writing was the thing I didn't like about Godzilla versus Kong. I thought the fights and everything were great in that. But here it just looks like they're just doing more of that. So they're improving on what already worked and not fixing anything that didn't work, it looks like.
Hmm. No, I do think you make a great point there. Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here looking at this and I'm like, so now we've got another cute, small, young character to promote in this little mini Kong sort of thing. I mean, I feel like it's becoming a trope now. It's just becoming like if you want a successful franchise, you got to have some level of like cute, smaller version of the big bad evil character, right? I mean, not to say that Yoda was bad, but we had Baby Yoda. I mean, we get smaller and smaller droids in Star Wars every movie. It feels like now we got a baby Kong here as well. So I again, it's just a trailer. But I would agree with you. It feels like it's once again going to be focusing mostly on the monsters and the big special effects. So if you like your big monster battles, this certainly might be it for you. It feels very much like these characters are probably going to take another sort of side, step back behind the monsters as part of the main characters in here. But again, it is just a trailer. This is the first official trailer. Maybe we end up getting ourselves some sort of second trailer that will give us a better idea of what the main storyline and purpose is. But for first impressions, like visually, okay. I mean, it looks fun visually, and if you're here for the big battles, but there are just moments in here that just make me think, yeah, this franchise has maybe embraced the wrong aspects that I really wanted them to. But they definitely, if they're trying to separate themselves from what Japan is doing with their monster movies, then they've done a great job in that regards of separating itself, showing like, look what we can do, westernize these characters with big bombastic special effects and a huge budget. And we'll see if it was the right move or not when it comes out. But first impressions, it doesn't. I'm not. It immediately feels like it's not something I really care to see. I might just see it just because I've seen all the other MonsterVerse movies, but I don't know if there's a hype for it as of yet. Marcelino says it's hard to take Kong X Godzilla seriously because this is just to be dumb action and no care for the story. I have a grin on my face because I couldn't stop laughing at the ridiculousness. I think even the idea of him getting a giant axe in the last one, I felt like, I don't want to say you can only stretch your imagination so far because it's like it's a movie about a gigantic ape anyway, so it's like maybe you can get away with some bigger sci-fi elements in here that they introduced in Godzilla versus Kong and are really embracing in here. So I do think that's the element that will either make this movie or break it for some people is just the bigger scope. And I would agree with you. The idea that now we've got like a civilization of these apes really does kind of deter and take away, I think, from King Kong a little bit more.
Yeah. But who knows? Maybe when I see this movie, it'll be better than I expected, and I'll look back at this podcast to be like, "Ha, that idiot didn't know what he was talking about."
Yeah, I mean, look, the idea of a trailer is it's meant to certainly get you hyped for what's to come. I hope it certainly hyped some of you guys if you're big fans of the MonsterVerse. I hope that this worked for you. I hope that you're really fascinated to see where it goes. For me, I'm probably still at the same point that I was before, if not a little bit more concerned now. So we'll see. We'll see if they change course going forward. But we'll keep you posted as we get more information. But thank you, Datila, for bringing that to our attention.
I also think I'm not disappointed too, because like if this movie does end up being bad, it's not like for Godzilla movies now, it's no longer a question of, oh man, I don't know when or if we're gonna get another Godzilla movie, but I hope it's better than the last one. But now it's like the if factor is now gone. Now it's just a matter of when. Now we know Godzilla movies are constantly going to be coming out. So I think because of that, when there's one that I don't think looks that exciting, I'm not disappointed by it anymore.
I guess that makes sense. This has a feeling like, hey guys, we've got 2 more stories we want to tell you after this. Like another damn trilogy. I don't know. We'll see what happens though. Shout out to Dick Champion for certainly coming through. He says if you're gonna see Godzilla -1, watch Oppenheimer first. Yeah, might make yeah, that yeah. Yeah, yeah, definitely impactful for sure. Do I think it's necessary? No, but I do think seeing Oppenheimer and then understanding, especially the time period in which this movie takes place in the late, mid to late 40s, post World War II sort of thing, you really understand where the Japanese are certainly at, and I think it makes that even much more impactful. Marcelino says, I think it only takes a few years into the future, talking about the Godzilla X Kong New Empire trailer, because the little girl from before returns in the movie. That's right. I do remember her. Ram Jim says, I would like them to try one day to do a Ultraman versus Godzilla crossover movie. That's I
That
would
would
love
be
to
awesome.
see. In fact, I don't be surprised if the Shin Godzilla and the Shin Ultraman world or universe make that happen one day. So we'll see.
Hell, I mean, Monarch, you got that show going on. They could have a season finale where they run into a new team, a team called the Science Patrol. And then it just ends with one of the members of the Science Patrol dying and then coming back coming back with a device that, can turn him. We as the audience, though, turns him into Ultraman. But people watching the show who know nothing about Ultraman will be like, ooh, what's that?
The Science Patrol. Marcelino says Godzilla and King Kong were created as allegories for natural disasters and atomic bombs, but now they're just CGI spectacles filled to the brim with dumb action.
I don't think King Kong was an allegory for correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think he was ever an allegory for natural disaster. I think he was more just meant to be kind of a placement holder for Beauty and the Beast, the beast aspect, obviously.
You might be right in that regards. Yeah, I can see Godzilla being the allegory. Kong, on the other hand, yeah, I would probably agree with you. I actually went back a few years ago and I rewatched the Peter Jackson King Kong movie. Not bad. It's not as bad. I still enjoy it, actually. I remember seeing it in theaters the first time. It might have been like a late midnight showing when I watched it. So it being such a long movie, I probably barely remembered it. But when I watched it again the second time, I actually walked the right way enjoying it. Like, man, that's actually pretty solid Peter Jackson film. I think he did a really good job for this King Kong film.
Yeah, it was a great remake. I especially was shocked at how good Jack Black was, because at the time he had just been known for his goofy role. So to see him actually take a role that seriously, really, really awesome.
Yeah, and I forget how terrifying at times it is, especially when they get onto the island and you start seeing the natives and stuff. I was like, oh shit, I didn't know it got. I forget it got kind of serious eventually.
And then you get the really creepy giant bugs and things like that. There was the one scene where it was just the giant centipede kind of crawling. I think it was crawling on someone, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh
that. Oh my gosh, that scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. But some great Godzilla stuff, man. Great back-to-back articles and some breaking news reaction, if you will. Maybe I'll clip that part out and put that up on our YouTube page also as this individual video. But Stuart, I think with that out of the way, you know what time it is.
And now, everybody, it is time for live viewer questions.
I forget sometimes that we already have that predisposed, ready for us to go. I'm sorry, Stuart. Do you miss saying it weekly?
Oh no, I'm cool with whichever. Don't get me wrong. Not that I mind saying it. I don't miss saying it either.
No, I totally get you, man. Let me try and pull this up here. And again, if you guys do have any live viewer questions, we were kind of late putting them up here this week. I normally like to try and at least get it 2 or so days before we go live. But if you ever want to go ahead and submit your live viewer question, if you go over to our community tab, usually we'll go ahead and post the live viewer question post, and you can go ahead and submit it over there. In the meantime, let me go ahead and pull this up. I don't even know if we have a lot or any questions at all, but we're about to find out. So yeah, just go over to our YouTube page, APlus Hero Report, click on that community tab, and we have a live viewer question post for you guys. We got 5 questions here today. If for some reason we can't get to all of them, we'll definitely do it in its own separate video. Jessica Friedman is back. What's up, Jessica? First off, I've missed your questions. I always appreciate you always coming through to have some kind of question for us. What are you hoping to see? The final season of Superman and Lois and the 5th season of Harley Quinn. Also, welcome back. It's good to be back, Jessica. And yeah, they did announce a 5th season for Harley Quinn. I think some of us might have been thinking maybe the 4th season was going to be the end, but they're like, you guys love this series way too much. You've got a 5th season coming along. It makes me wonder, will we have a 6th season? Who knows? But what are you hoping to see the final season of Superman and Lois, or even Harley Quinn, Stuart?
Man, I'm a full season behind on Harley Quinn, but with Superman and Lois, I definitely want to see them flesh out Lex Luthor a little bit more, because
Okay.
I love the actor they got to play him, but I don't think they really did too much with him after his after he premiered in the penultimate episode. I think like the season finale, they just kind of threw a lot of, not, I don't want to say they threw it out what made him interesting. I just don't think they really expanded any more on what made him interesting in the season finale as they did in the penultimate episode. So yeah, more from him. I really hope Jordan kind of gets his act together, because they had like him kind of acting like very childish kind of towards the end of season 3, which I didn't like. So I kind of hope he gets it all together and goes back to being able to like fight side by side with his dad. And I also wouldn't mind seeing the Flash appear. Like there's been rumors about it, but they're also saying with the show's budget being cut, it's less likely to happen.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing. The budget cut as well. So I have no idea what this series is gonna turn out to be, but we'll see how it goes. Let's see here. Next question. Blossom. Geez, oh Jody, you have no idea how long I waited to see you guys again. Welcome back. It's good to see you as well, Blossom. Thank you so much. Did you guys see Cosmic Fury yet? If you did, what did you think, Stuart?
Oh man, I loved Cosmic Fury. I thought great way to end the season, or end the series, I should say. I love. Have you seen it yet? Because I'm about to get into slight spoilers here.
You can spoil it if you want to. I have not finished the last 2 episodes yet. But go ahead, because I actually have thought about just rewatching it again. I watched it, mostly binged it when it came out, but then something came up and it just really took away from me, so I stopped watching it. But I'm gonna go finish it though. But you can
Okay,
get
cool.
spoilerish if you want to. It's cool.
I won't say anything too specific, but I'll say that I think that the main villain's motivation was kind of brilliant and extremely hilarious at the same time, but also like just makes so much sense within the world of Power Rangers. But I do have one nitpick. I don't like how after 10 episodes, there wasn't a single episode where we got to see all 7 Rangers fighting together. So I don't like that we never got that moment of all of them fighting together side by side. We had them all together. We had them all like at their max power, but like we didn't get to see them at their max power doing one last final battle, which I think is what they needed. Not that I hated the way they defeated Zed. I just think it would have been cool if we had one more final battle on top of that. But yeah, that all being said, overall though, writing wise, I think it's one of the best written seasons we've gotten. Probably definitely the best of the Neo Saban era. If I'm being honest, yeah, probably their best season.
I mean, I wouldn't even consider this a Neo Saban season.
Or yeah, Hasbro.
Like Hasbro's era, yeah. So while I didn't finish it, I do have some notes that I took while I was watching the show. So I'm just gonna read off my notes if that's cool. Really loving the additions of Billy and Mick. Gives it the feel of a unique season and team, but also a great crossover vibe. Villains are awesome. Bajillionaire. I mean, come on, who comes up with these names? Fucking brilliant. Weapon manufacturers that likes to create wars in ingenious idea for a galactic villain. I thought immediate stakes at play, the loss of Zato again, Ollie turned evil, and for a substantial amount of time, and Hobby loses his arm, all in the same episode. Really heavy stuff, honestly. I thought Kai Moy is pretty badass as a villain, much more fitting for him, honestly, than just the sweet Ollie. I really loved him in that role. Loved Amelia stepping up. Experienced being a ranger for a while in her time at Buzz Blast. She's been there for everyone. Great advice and giving the team hope. Very deserving of being a red. I think they did a really good job of establishing her as sort of that leader, that voice of reason and advice that people kind of go to. Cast in general feel really comfortable in their roles and with their chemistry with each other. Just a perfect example of what happens when you keep them on for more than 2 seasons. I mean, they feel like a family, and just even delivering their lines, acting opposite of each other, it feels that much more natural. Cool cliffhanger. I thought episode 1 was amazing. The idea of Fern being on the ship at the end was pretty cool. Episode 2, at the end of episode 2, and the team getting new powers at the end of episode 3. I really appreciated the pacing of the series. Great full morph sequence. I like the background design better from Dino Fury, but Javi's and Ion's really hit hard for me. Ollie and his costume were incredible. Awesome designs. One of the coolest designs I'd seen, honestly. And I also found Ion and Zato's relationship pretty deep in this one. Interesting journey for Zato. Again, I have not finished it as of yet. Quite spiritual as Morphing Masters bring him back with the use of their magic, only for him to now have the powers of magic, but he's dying as he uses them, performing miracles, showing his unselfish sacrifice. Glad Zato told the team instead of Solai. It feels like a very spiritual journey for him in here. But those are a theme of sacrifice is heavy in this one. Zato and especially Javi. Fern putting her life in danger to save Solon. Very selfish acts, and I love seeing it. It just what makes some Rangers. So I had a really good time with Cosmic Fury, and I haven't even finished it yet. But those are just some of the positive vibes and some of the notes that I had from my thoughts on Cosmic Fury so far.
Absolutely love with Zato, like him being super powerful, but then having that weight of if you use it, you may not be around to. And the fact that they don't know what that limit is, it makes it like just as intense for us as the audience as it does for the main characters. There isn't even like a bar to go by. It's like, hey, maybe you can do this spell and be totally fine. Maybe you can't. It's up to you to figure out. And I'm going to say something super, super edgy because this was like, before I quit Twitter, this was like one of the things I remember the fans debating about. And I'm just going to like say this right now. If you were excited about Amelia being the Red Ranger, you were excited to see her step up as a leader. That does not make you racist. If you were upset to see Amelia as the Red Ranger and Zato no longer as the Red Ranger, that does not make you sexist. You are allowed to be upset that he is no longer the Red Ranger, and you are allowed to be excited that Amelia is the Red Ranger. It does not make you one of those things. It's just, I totally get both sides of the argument. What I hated so much seeing on Twitter was like suddenly like people would be like, oh, well, if you don't like Amelia as the Red Ranger, you're sexist. Well, if you don't like Zato as the Red Ranger, you're racist. It's like, no, you both have your valid reasons for wanting to see these characters as the Red Ranger. Let's just accept that.
Yeah, man. So quick to put labels on people, man. Like,
yeah.
you can have both. You can have both. It's okay.
Yeah. We can all disagree on this without like, saying like to each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And she says, as we all know, the Rangers have their weaknesses and deal with them, right? I'm thinking of working how to deal with them for my Tokyugers. For instance, my Blue Ranger Max, his weakness is his fear of losing people. Interesting. I'm thinking of working on how to deal with them. Interesting. Well, good luck, Blossom. If we come up with any ideas, though, we'll definitely let you know. Marcelino. He's got 2 questions. What are your thoughts on the ideas that Eric Wallace wanted to do an extended season 9 and season 10 of The Flash? These include doing Blackest Night as crossover with Superman and Lois, Titans, and Stargirl using Max Mercury, having Keon be a 2-season-long arc during a crossover called Forever War, a final crossover where the Justice League fight Despero, who leads an alien invasion, and bringing back Chantel Van Santen and Tom Felton as Patty Spivot. First off, if you want to bring back Chantel Van Santen as Patty Spivot, please do. I thought she was remarkable in season 2. I think she's so fine, honestly. I definitely wanted more Patty Spivot, so I was pissed that they kind of wrote her out. But yeah, Stuart, I'm good.
That's
I'm good.
interesting.
I'm good with it, man. I don't need anything else from Eric Wallace when it comes to the Flash, bro.
No, I totally agree. I think like the thing is, I think Eric Wallace has really fun ideas that work on paper. But
Mm,
you know, it's like the problem is he writes for a CW show, so like a lot of his ambitious ideas just don't play out the way he probably sees it in his mind.
in
Because
his mind,
when
yeah.
he writes and directs his own episodes, I actually find that they end up being really well done. So this guy
Okay.
obviously knows what he's talking about, what he's doing. But I think like when it comes to like his ideas and giving them to different writers to do, I think that's when his stories end up being just like terrible. You know, that's what makes him like, I think Eric Wallace is one of the most fascinating showrunners. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I mean that
Mhm.
in like it's weird because this guy is clearly brilliant, but like has also done some of the worst episodes of The Flash like I have ever seen. So, you know, I would love to like interview him, but after me just saying that, I don't think that's ever gonna happen. He's
Yeah,
gonna look at that clip where I just said he made some of the worst episodes of The Flash. He'd be like, no, I'm good.
yeah, we know we'll hide those. We'll mute that portion of the clip so he can't find any dirt on us. But yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good without it. He also says, Marcel also says, you guys said that if Power Rangers Boom Comics got adapted into an animated series, you want them to take creative liberties and not be a copy and paste of the comics. But there are people who do want it to be a copy and paste of the comics because aren't comic book readers. Oh, because they aren't comic book readers and feel like they're missing out. Like me, for example, I'm not a comic book reader, but I appreciate what Boom has done with the franchise. But I want it to be copy and paste because I feel like I'm missing out, and there are people who agree with me. We feel like they're not being heard, and the fandom constantly makes fun of us, saying we're too self-entitled without even bothering to hear our concerns. Do you agree with me or not? I mean, I don't think that makes you self-entitled. I just think that makes you have a different opinion than anybody else. I mean, look, if there's a group of people that want to see a copy and paste, cool. Like, I got nothing to get. Like, why would I have like, anything against people that want to see something done differently? Like, Stuart, I think sometimes as a fandom, we have to understand like our way isn't always the best way, right? Like our way isn't always the right way to do things. I know that we become keyboard warriors and we're on the internet all day typing buttons on Twitter, giving our opinions and stuff, but we really got to get out of that mindset of our opinions matter.
Mhm.
That our opinions really like form what the creatives or anything like that decide to do. Like our opinions on what we would like to see don't mean like that is the only way that they can do things, or it's not going to be successful. It's not going to be right. Then you just become like an egotistical maniac and you just think more highly of yourselves than anything. The idea of wanting to see something different than somebody else, I don't think that makes you self entitled. I just think that makes you somebody that has an opinion of wanting to see something done differently.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, just because we want to see it done, creative liberties and done differently, if they decide, hey, we're going to take copy and paste the Boom Studios stuff. Okay. Like
I'll
that's
still watch that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll still watch it. It's not a make or break for me sort of thing. It's just a preference that I have. But if they can make the retelling of Boom Studio comic book stuff fantastically well and do it incredibly well, hey, I'm all on board for it. I would love to see Power Ranger animation regardless. And I think that should be the focus. Power Ranger animation, not necessarily how they execute it. So, if you want to I'm sorry that the fandom has made you feel like you've been heard. I mean, we just talked about this idea, right, Stuart? People label each other. You're immediately this if you don't want that. You're immediately that if you don't want this sort of thing. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. There are room for other opinions out there. And again, at the end of the day, it don't matter what our opinions are. It don't matter what we ask for. What matters is who's actually doing the writing and the directing and what the companies that own these properties decide upon. We can give our thoughts and our preferences all day long, but what we ask for doesn't mean that it has to be that way. That's just selfish, and you've just built yourself up to be something super egotistical and bigger than anybody else when half of these people have never created a fucking thing in their life, let alone probably even know how to write a script to begin with. Okay.
Mhm.
So, I think sometimes we have to remember where our place is in regards to just being a fandom and not gatekeepers of how some of these studios and things like that should handle these franchises. It's got to stop, Stuart.
Yeah. And you know, the thing is for me why I wouldn't want it to be copy and paste is only because like I myself have already read the comics, so I can totally see if someone hasn't read them but is interested in the story why they would want it that way. It's kind of like, you know, with me and a lot of anime that I haven't read the manga for. For me, I like the fact that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is basically a direct adaptation of the manga because otherwise I would have to both read the manga and watch the anime. But I like that I don't have to do that. I can just, you know, currently stick with the anime. And as far as I know, it follows the manga almost like directly.
He also said, read the rest of my question, Adam. I think Stuart finished it off for me though. I finished that Patty pivot, and just the thought of Chantel Van Satin just stopped me in my tracks. I'm so I'm so sorry. But Julie and Albert, respectively, as a married crime fighting duo known as Hot Pursuit, and I think you commented on the Hot Pursuit part.
Yeah, I think that's kind of that's kind of a fun name between the two of them, but yeah, I don't know.
Let's see. We got Peg C here. Have you got the chance to see Power Rangers Unworthy, the Psycho Menace? If so, what are your thoughts? Have you, Stuart? I have not.
I saw the trailers for it because I keep up with Unworthy Production on Instagram. And it looks pretty cool. I haven't had a chance to watch the episode itself yet.
Yeah, I haven't either. I think I don't even know if there's been like I feel like there's been so many like fan film-ish stuff for Power Rangers out there. I know Unworthy has been around for quite some time. I want to say I might have only watched like the first 2 episodes or so, but then I've kind of fell off and I've never really gone back. But you know, a lot of people like them. But and I think we have a lot of cameos, right, from like past Rangers that pop up in this stuff. But maybe I'm wrong.
In Unworthy, I think they had a couple
Mhm.
actors cameo, but like for the most part, it's supposed to be like different actors playing these characters because they
Oh, okay.
explain like, you know, different universe. Basically, it's
Gotcha.
like a ranger going around killing rangers of the multiverse.
That's the concept that I do remember seeing. So, but yeah, I never stuck with it long enough. But cool concept. Did you ever watch Three Ninja movies? Oh, did you ever watch the Three Ninjas movies growing up? If so, what did you think of them? So we're talking about Rocky, Colt, and Tum Tum, if I'm not mistaken. I watched the first 2 of those as a kid, and you know they were fun for me. You know, I haven't watched them since then, but during the time I was a big fan, and I can't remember what year those came out. Like I don't know if I might have already been on the um Power Ranger sort of slash Karate Kid mindset. Like I think at that time I might have been into karate or doing karate a little bit. So Three Ninjas was like at the perfect age range for me to really appreciate the fun and just the idea of these 3 kids as ninjas sort of thing. I mean, they were fun kid films at the time.
Yeah, I watched the first one when I was really, really young, and I remember absolutely loving it. Then hadn't seen it for a while until high school, and I just remember cringing when I rewatched it in high school. I don't know what my opinion of it would be if I saw it now as an adult, because I find that, you know, a lot of things I used to cringe at in high school I actually kind of like now. So I am kind of curious. If I ever check it out, I'll let you know what my thoughts are.
Yeah, I just like I think Colt might have been the leader. I don't remember if Rocky was like the maverick of the teenage boys. I just remember Tum Tum used to love like jelly beans or like eat a lot or something like that. I can't remember what his vice was, but I think he used to like to eat, or it's just a bunch of candy like sweets and stuff. But I always enjoyed the chemistry. It was fun, especially them as I think they were brothers, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah.
it was a cool chemistry.
And it was fun for me because, you know, I grew up with 2 older siblings, so I always saw myself as like the youngest of them.
I get you. I get you. That's pretty cool. Doomsday's in the house. Doomsday says, if you watch Cosmic Fury, how did you go about it? What I did was I watched the show every week because even though it was type of episodes long, I could just binge it and watch one episode daily. I wanted to feel like the final season of Power Rangers truly lasted and watch one episode every Friday. I think that's cool. Doomsday for sure. You know, I don't think I've done a Cosmic Fury review yet for the channel. So I may end up, since I did say I kind of want to go back and rewatch it. When I first started watching it, I will say I attempted to binge it. But being a father and things like that, a lot of stuff happens. So I maybe got like 2 or 3 episodes out of, at a time out of the way, and then kind of came back to it. But unfortunately, I ended up falling off of it again. Not that it was bad. There's just so much stuff kind of going on. So if anything, I may go back and rewatch it 1 episode a week. And who knows, maybe you guys will get weekly episode reviews of Cosmic Fury, even though this series is like months old. I still think that there would be some viewership for it, Stuart.
I think so, because I see there's still other channels that are doing it that way.
I too. I think the Montyverse. Shout out to the Montyverse, by the way, on YouTube. I think they follow us on Twitter as well. They've been doing some great work. I think I've seen them kind of slowly doing the 1 episode reviews for Cosmic Fury. So maybe there's still time left.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I couldn't do that. I was impatient. I'm like, no, I need to watch it all at once. So the moment midnight hit, even though I had work the next day, I just binged all 10 episodes.
Nice, bro. That's the way you got to do it sometimes. And they're very easily digestible episodes too. I mean, they go by in a breeze, I feel like.
Yeah.
Number 2, there are a lot of people saying that Kelsey from Lightspeed Rescue is of the LGBTQ community, but honestly, I don't know how she is. I was hoping that you can clear all that up to me. Is she in this? Is she part of the LGBTQ community in Lightspeed Rescue? Is that something that they even acknowledge?
They definitely never acknowledge it directly in the show, especially because it came out. That show was early 2000s, so no way would they have been
Like acknowledged it, right?
Yeah, even if they were brave enough to do that, I don't think any network would have let them.
I do wonder, because she always felt like the tomboy in the group to me. Did she used to like the roller skates and stuff, like rollerblading and things like that? Like I'm wondering if people are just assuming that because of the tomboyish vibes that she gives at times. I just don't remember any moment in the story where it hints at that. But maybe it's been a long time since I've seen Lightspeed.
Yeah, that's okay. Now that because I couldn't remember if she was the Yellow Ranger or the one that
I think she was the Yellow Ranger, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was the Yellow Ranger. Yeah, I mean, I could see it because of her tomboyish kind of personality, but other than that, not really. I mean, there's plenty of straight women who are tomboys, so
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It might just be an assumption, but I don't know what other people are saying Doomsday, but that's the only reason why I would think is that people would assume that. I think it's dumb of them to assume that. That's really stupid.
I mean, that being said, though, if they ever did because they keep going back to like other teams in the Boom Studios comic books,
right.
So if they ever went back to her
character,
I don't think she ever had like a love interest in the show. So if they ever wanted to go back to her character and say that she's into women, it's not like it would contradict anything in the show.
Yeah, because I don't recall them establishing anything in the series. So verdict's up in the air for me personally. I don't know, but unless they've clarified something in the comic books or whatever the case may be, then maybe. But yeah, I have no idea. Do you think that people should stop comparing the Marvel movies that we have now to Endgame and just enjoy each movie for what it is? Because post Endgame, we've had Shang-Chi, which I've enjoyed, Spider-Man No Way Home, incredible, Doctor Strange 2, enjoyable, but I definitely feel could have been better. Black Panther 2, I was a big fan of. Guardians 3, really big fan of. And they're all great movies on their own. So personally, I feel as though we should stop saying stuff like this movie is trash compared to Endgame and just enjoy it for what it is. I do find it interesting that Doomsday failed to include Black Widow along with Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania in there also. Some of the 2 terrible movies. And maybe Thor, Love and Thunder that some people weren't necessarily the biggest fans of. We got to be fair. We got to be fair, Doomsday, when we add those movies in there. Look, I mean, it is one of the. How do you feel, Stuart? I mean, do you think it's fair to compare these phase movies to something like an Endgame? Like, I try not to personally compare them to Endgame because, like, Infinity War and Endgame is a true culmination of everything you've been building up, right? Like, you've built so much momentum, so much great character work to those Avenger films that, like, it feels unfair to me to say, hey, Shang-Chi's got to be the next Avengers Endgame. Now, if you said, hey, Shang-Chi's got to be like the next Iron Man or the next Captain America movie, maybe. But I don't necessarily think that we should be comparing them to something like an Endgame. But maybe people are just using Endgame in the sense of like just the level of storytelling. But I don't know. I think it's unfair personally, but maybe you don't. What are your thoughts though?
I mean, my thought is the only reason I keep bringing up Endgame is because it feels like all these movies, with how big the stakes are and how big their climaxes are, it
Right.
feels like they themselves
They
are trying
themselves
to
are.
be like Endgame, and not that, like, I'm not going into these movies wanting to compare them to Endgame, but when you have like these climactic battles that are trying to be larger than life, just like Endgame, I can't help but like think about how, hey, I don't care about this as much as Endgame, because Endgame, was like a finale, and it had everyone working together to face this giant threat, which just made it that much more enjoyable. When it's just the solo superhero trying to take down this giant threat, it's just not as impactful as it normally could have been. I'd say the one exception, though, with the movies that he listed, definitely, of course, has to go to Spider-Man No Way Home, because it wasn't just Spider-Man, it was the other Spider-Man as well. And even then, even though it was like, multiverse ending stakes, the overall battle itself was pretty grounded. It was just them taking down the 5 villains. So it's not like any one of the 5 villains individually were like trying to take over the world or destroy everything. It was just that, the circumstances that brought them there brought in, multiverse ending threats. And so because of that, the final battle itself still felt very grounded. And then I also think, another exception would be for Guardians 3, and that's only because that was the finale of the Guardians themselves. So of course
Mhm.
the stakes are going to be big because it's their conclusion. I think that when it came to Doctor Strange 2, again, that's where I think the stakes didn't need to be as high as they were, because we're doing a solo movie here. We didn't need to explore the multiverse the way they did, or if we did, it would have been nice to be focused on a couple of universes rather than just jumping from one to another. Just go, hey, check out that Easter egg. Oh, check out that Easter egg.
Mhm.
And then Black Panther 2, I think, worked because it was a very personal movie. And then Shang-Chi, another movie you have as an example, worked up until that final bit. Like I mentioned, I was talking about it earlier in this podcast. I think that they should have ended Shang-Chi with the battle between him and his dad. I think
Yeah.
that was their conclusion right there.
Mhm. Yeah, I think there is a part of me that does feel it's kind of unfair to compare it to something like Endgame, just because of the sense of, like, if that is your measuring stick now for everything that is Marvel, you're just going to be disappointed
Oh
all the
yeah.
time, right? Like, and I think it's even fair to say, like, okay, so you compare the first Ant-Man to Endgame. There's no comparison there. It's a great movie, but it's not Endgame. So does that mean Ant-Man is trash now? Right? Civil War, great movie, probably not better than Endgame. So is Captain America Civil War trash now? Right? Like, it's just a really terrible comparison. And I just think that if you're gonna hold every Marvel movie standard to Endgame, where again, we're going into an Endgame film where it's literally the last hurrah for all these huge big stars. I mean, they literally even gave them like signature farewells in the end credits at the end. Like, it is, I personally think it's unfair to compare it to Endgame. If they want to compare other Marvel movies to other Marvel movies that aren't these big bombastic Avenger films like Infinity War, Endgame, fair enough. But the
Mhm.
moment that you start saying and Endgame is the bar now, now you're just getting unrealistic with yourself. Because not every movie, it's not that easy to make movies, y'all. I know
Mhm.
what it looks like that just because we go to the movies and sit down. But I do think that there's a level of fairness that we have to give Marvel Studios, and just realistically, if you ask me.
Yeah, what I think you should do is compare like solo superhero movies to other
Other
solo
solo super.
superhero movies. That's where the line should be of quality, basically.
And I think it's also important, and we've said this before, but not every movie has to be a perfect film.
Oh no.
Like, it's okay to just go to a movie and see a good movie that leaves you walking away with, I had a good time. It doesn't necessarily mean that that movie is crap. It doesn't mean just because the movie didn't make a ton of movie money at the box office that it's got to be a flop, and like just that it's got to be written in the floppish way, or that it means that that it's not good enough, sort of thing. Movies can still be good, and guess what, that's okay. It's okay to still like good movies. So yeah, man, I don't know if we've just become spoiled, entitled, think we know better sometimes, but yeah, we gotta stop with the perfection or trash sort of mentality. It really drives me crazy, Stuart. It really does.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But good question though. So yeah, I don't think that they have to be compared to Endgame all the time. But other than that, guys, let me refresh the page just to make sure that we are not missing any comments. No, I think we got everybody. Awesome. So that will do it for all of our live viewer questions this week, guys. So thank you, everybody, for certainly participating and certainly coming through wherever you're watching us from, whether that be YouTube, Twitch, Facebook. We really do appreciate it. Again, if you love this content, guys, if you like what we do here, hit that like button, guys. Share these videos. If you want to pull clips from this and post it on social media, wherever the case may be, certainly let everybody know about APlus Hero Report, and we'll still continue to do our best to be here every Sunday for you guys each and every weekend. But Stuart, I think that will do it for us today, man. Any last thoughts and anything that we've seen today or talked about?
Just yeah. Not really.
Awesome,
I think we
man.
covered it all.
Yeah, I think we got it all too. It's felt great to be back, man. I personally have missed you guys. I love doing this with you guys on a weekly basis. Sitting down and talking with you again, Stuart, and going through these stories, I'm like, I'm home. Like it just feels good to be back, man. So thank you guys for all your support, being patient, continuing to come back each and every week. And we'll definitely be seeing you guys next weekend as well. But Stuart, if you are on social media, if people want to try to find you anywhere, can they find you on social media?
Oh yeah, you guys can still find me on Instagram at turbostu01.
So definitely go ahead and follow Stuart whenever you get a chance. Bug him from time to time if you want to send us some messages. If you want to follow us on social media, all of our links are right here down below. We also have a Discord community. I haven't necessarily been very active over in the Discord, but I think we should probably switch that around a little bit. There is a link in the description box below for our Discord if you'd like that forum sort of type of community. If you want audio versions of our show, you can find us wherever you listen to your audio podcasts. Apple Music, Spotify. Just go ahead and plug in APlus Hero Report. You definitely find this there. And Spotify does now have video as well, so you can definitely watch us over there. We'll usually post this later on Sundays or first thing on Monday, so definitely check that out. But other than that, guys, that's going to do it for us. So until next week, do us a big favor. As always, guys, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.